Chapter 430. The name of this boxing field was quite imposing. It was called the Peak of Passion. The decoration was extremely luxurious. People who came here to watch the black boxing games were also rich people. The parking lot opposite the boxing field had been full of all kinds of luxury cars. At the entrance of the boxing field, guests of different skin colors and languages were coming in one after another. They were all rich people from all over the world. They came here to pursue excitement. After Qin Haodong and the others entered the door, a young and beautiful waitress immediately greeted them. Unlike other places, the waitress here only wore a revealing bikini, which showed her curvy figure. Every man couldn't help but look at her long white legs and slightly trembling peaks. The bikini waitress said enthusiastically, "Sir, I'm the number 39 waitress of the boxing field. I'll serve you next. Is it your first time to come to our boxing field?" As she spoke, she also threw a coquettish look at Qin Haodong. People who came here to watch the black boxing games were all rich people. The young man in front of her was extraordinary. He must be a rich second generation of a big family. It was a pity that there was a beautiful woman and a little girl next to him. It seemed that they were married. But this did not affect her enthusiasm. As long as she could serve the person in front of her happy, there would be a lot of tips. Qin Haodong nodded secretly. No wonder the business here was so good. The service of the bikini girls was also a major feature. Money and women had always been two sharp weapons that could arouse men's desire. It was enough to make every man unwilling to leave here. He said, "I'm here for the first time. Is there any best place?" The waitress said, "Sir, you're really here at the right time. There is an empty seat in the VIP section, but the minimum bet is $100,000. Do you need it? $100,000? Qin Haodong smiled and said, "That's it. Arrange it for me." "Okay, sir, please come with me." The waitress was secretly happy. She really met a rich guest today. It seemed that she could make a lot of money. After entering the boxing field, there was immediately a hubbub of noise. Cheers, curses, and cheers could be heard incessantly. "It's so lively here." Lin Momo couldn't help but sigh. Although she could only hear the sound now, it was enough to understand how excited those guests were. The waitress took them to the front row of the VIP section, which was different from the hard seats in the back. There was a wide leather sofa with fruit plates and drinks in front. After Qin Haodong and others sat down, the waitress brought up an iPad. She pointed to the odds displayed on the screen and said, "Sir, this is the scene of our boxing field. The players' personal information and odds are on it. You can choose and swipe your card to bet. It's your first time here. If you need, I can introduce the fighters for you." After that, she looked at Qin Haodong expectantly. If the guests bet on the recommended boxer, she would get a lot of commission. Qin Haodong waved his hand, and Saber immediately stuffed a few dollar bills into the waiter's hand. Then he said with a smile, "No, there's an introduction on the screen, and I've always been lucky. I can win no matter who I choose." Qin Haodong swiped the iPad a few times, and finally pointed to a boxer's profile picture and said, "I'll choose him. Give me $1 million. He didn't bet too much. If he bet all his money at once, the boxing field would go bankrupt before the game started. So he only bet $1 million. Even so, the waiter was still shocked. Even though this was a money-squandering establishment, he was definitely a rich customer among rich customers. He was young, rich, extravagant, and most importantly, handsome. He was simply the Prince Charming of her dreams countless times. She looked at Lin Momo with envy, jealousy, and hatred in her eyes again. If only she was sitting next to Lin Momo. Seeing that the waitress didn't respond, Qin Haodong said again, "Miss, can I?" The waitress came to her senses and said quickly, "Yes, sir. I'll help you bet." She took the bank card. But when she saw the fighter she chose, she was surprised and said, "Sir, are you sure you want this guy?" Qin Haodong said, "I'm sure." "What's the problem?" The waiter said, "It's like this, sir. This player named Weak Chicken just came to our boxing field today. He has never participated in a competition before. I don't know his strength at all. It's too risky for you to bet $1 million on him. I suggest you change to another boxer." She was really surprised. She didn't know whether the handsome young man in front of her was rich or stupid. A normal person would not make such a risky choice. As a result, something even more surprising happened. Qin Haodong said again, "Don't worry, I know fortune telling. This boxer named Weak Chicken is very lucky. He will definitely not lose. You can bet your money on him. Besides, for a boxer who has just participated in the competition, the odds are very high, right?" The waitress said, "Well, the odds are really high. It's 1 to 10. This kind of black boxing was different from ordinary competitions. Every player had to sign a life and death contract before going on stage. 99% of the players who lost were either dead or disabled. People who didn't have real skills didn't dare to go on stage to compete. Because of this, even for new fighters, the casino didn't dare to give too high odds. 110 was almost the highest. Qin Haodong was happy and immediately shouted, "That's him. Hurry up and help me bet." The waitress said, "Sir, don't you want to think about it? If you really lose, the $1 million will be gone." Although the odds of 1 to 10 were really high, in her eyes, it was impossible for Qin Haodong to earn back $10 million. On one side was a rookie with no experience, and on the other side was a powerful veteran fighter. But anyone with a little brain should know how to choose. "That's him. Swipe my card," Qin Haodong said firmly. "Yes, sir." The waitress sighed secretly. Since the guest insisted, she couldn't say anything more. Anyway, she didn't lose money. But in this way, there would be no tip. She took the bank card and skillfully bet $1 million on the player named Weak Chicken. "Sir, the match will start in 10 minutes. Good luck." Qin Haodong nodded, then turned his head to look at the boxing ring in the center of the field. Although it was an underground boxing ring, the scale of the construction was no less than that of a regular boxing ring seen on TV. It could almost accommodate nearly 1,000 spectators. The difference was that there was a huge iron cage on the boxing ring in the center. The steel bars on the iron cage were as thick as a child's arm and looked extremely strong. In an underground boxing match, the iron cage could only be opened after one side of the match fell to the ground and the referee announced the result of the match. This scene undoubtedly stimulated the senses of the guests to the greatest extent. Soon, the match that was going on the boxing ring was over. The defeated player's neck was directly broken by the opponent. The iron cage was opened, and 2 staff went up and carried the dead body down. In the audience, cheers and curses rang out. The cheers were naturally the gamblers who bet on the winning side, and the curses were the guests who bet on the dead side. This was the rule of the underground boxing match. The winner was king, and the loser was a thief. People always applauded and cheered for the winner, and there would be no sympathy for the dead, only disdain and curses. After a match, the front desk was simply cleaned up, and the next match began immediately. The information of the boxers on both sides of the match was displayed on the big screen. On one side was a boxer with a 90% winning rate, codenamed Crippled Wolf. This guy was about 1.85 meters tall, with strong muscles all over his body and bloodthirsty eyes. It was said that Crippled Wolf's means were very cruel, and no boxer who was defeated by him survived. Because of this, when his name was displayed, there was a burst of cheers in the venue. Many familiar gamblers bet on him, but it was very rare to see Qin Haodong throw $1 million. Crippled Wolf threw off his cloak very easily, stretched out his hairy big hand, and grabbed the chest of the bikini girl next to him. Then he jumped onto the boxing ring, and very arrogantly gave a middle finger to the boxers under the ring, and then strode into the iron cage. His opponent was the newcomer called Weak Chicken. As soon as he announced his name, there was a burst of laughter in the boxing ring. Generally speaking, even new boxers would give themselves a domineering and loud name, which could enhance their confidence. No one had ever seen anyone give themselves a codename Weak Chicken. The man called Weak Chicken was about 30 years old. He had an ordinary appearance, an ordinary figure, and such a funny codename. There was no doubt that no one would be optimistic about him. The bets were all on Crippled Wolf. Only Chin Haodong alone bet $1 million on Weak Chicken. The big screen above the boxing ring showed the real-time changes of the numbers and odds. When everyone saw the lonely $1 million under Weak Chicken's name, everyone was excited. In their opinion, this person was no different from a fool. There was no difference between a fool and a fool. Putting $1 million USD on a weak newcomer was simply giving them money. Seeing these bets, Crippled Wolf was very excited. He had participated in many underground boxing matches, and it was rare to see such a rich man who bet $1 million. As long as he won this match today, his prize money would also increase several times. He laughed wildly again and shouted to the audience, "Weak Chicken, hurry up and come up. Let me twist your head off." He did not take this opponent seriously at all, and his eyes were full of contempt. There was no reaction on Weak Chicken's face, as if he did not see Crippled Wolf's provocation. He lowered his eyes and walked step by step towards the ring. He walked very slowly, without any momentum. It was a world of difference from Crippled Wolf's leap just now. This kind of performance made the guests present hiss, and many people looked at Chin Haodong with sarcasm. Chin Haodong seemed to have seen nothing. He was attacking the fruit plate in front of him with the little fellow. Lin Momo, on the other hand, was surprised when she saw Weak Chicken's appearance. "Haodong, why does this person look so much like Brother Fugue?" Chin Haodong said while eating a banana, "It's not like. He is Chin Fugue." "That's right." The player who was walking step by step into the boxing ring, codenamed Weak Chicken, was the captain of Daddy Security Company and the former Soldier King, Chin Fugue. Lin Momo suddenly realized that no wonder Chin Haodong had bet all the dollars on this newcomer. It turned out that he had made sufficient preparations. Chapter 431. Lin Momo asked, "When did you call Brother Fugue over?" Chin Haodong said, "Yesterday." After he said that, he looked at the screaming gamblers around him with a sarcastic expression. These idiots had never seen Chin Haodong fight before. They could judge the outcome from his movements on the stage. It really made people speechless. Lin Momo was very clear about Chin Fugue's skills. At this time, she immediately understood that Chin Haodong had been ready to fight against the Lutheran Society for a long time. Chin Fugue walked to the front stage step by step and stepped into the iron cage. The staff behind him locked the iron gate outside the cage. The cheers and shouts at the scene were even louder. This was the characteristic of the black boxing competition. The competition officially began when one entered the iron cage. It would not end until one side fell to the ground. Crippled Wolf's eyes stared at Chin Fugue like a poisonous snake. He said with a ferocious face, "Weak Chicken, right? This name is really creative. It seems that you still know that you're here to deliver food to me." Chin Fugue glanced at Crippled Wolf with a flash of disdain on his face. "Weak Chicken is not referring to myself. In my eyes, all of you are weak chickens, especially guys like you who are outwardly strong but inwardly weak. What an arrogant boy. Now I'm going to twist your head off and stuff it into your ass." After Crippled Wolf said that, he suddenly moved. He took 2 steps forward in succession and punched Chin Fugue's face hard. It had to be said that this kid did have some capital to be arrogant. This punch was grand and powerful, and the gamblers who bet on him immediately let out waves of excited howls. It was a pity that he was facing the Soldier King, Chin Fugue. Even without Chin Haodong's help, Crippled Wolf could not be his opponent. Moreover, Chin Fugue had now entered the threshold of the covert power warrior. There was no comparison between the two of them. Chin Fugue completely ignored Crippled Wolf's punch and also punched forward. In everyone's eyes, this guy called Weak Chicken was completely looking for death. However, no one expected that Chinfugwe, who seemed to move slowly, would punch so fast that it actually arrived first. Before Crippled Wolf's fist could touch his face, his fist had already smashed into Crippled Wolf's chest. With a muffled bang, Crippled Wolf was still in the posture of punching, but his whole body seemed to have been hit by a cannonball. He flew backward rapidly in an instant, hit the iron cage with a bang, and then fell to the ground, vomiting mouthfuls of blood. At this moment, the entire audience was silent. No one had expected such a situation to occur. The rookie called Weak Chicken had actually defeated Crippled Wolf, and it was an instant kill. Only Chin Haodong nodded slightly. After a few days, Chinfugwe had reached the second level of covert power. It seemed that those big spirit culturing pills were not eaten in vain. Get up, hurry up and get up, hurry up and break his neck. I bet 100,000 yuan on you, useless thing, hurry up and attack me. The gamblers who had bet heavily on the Crippled Wolf suddenly had red eyes and kept roaring in their seats. Crippled Wolf struggled to stand up from the ring, but Chinfugwe's punch was too heavy. Not only had his sternum collapsed, but his internal organs had also been shaken out of position. After several consecutive efforts, he fell on the ring with a bang and could no longer get up. After the referee read 10 numbers in a row, seeing that Crippled Wolf still had no reaction, he directly announced that Chinfugwe had won the game. After the result came out, there was a sigh at the scene, followed by a burst of cursing. Everyone who had bet on Crippled Wolf had lost everything. The waitress standing behind Chin Haodong was stunned when she saw the scene in the ring. She had thought that the young man would lose without a doubt. She never expected that he would win. This also meant that the $1 million that had just been bet had become a full $10 million. Congratulations, sir. Your vision is really unique. The bikini waitress came to Chin Haodong and bowed down, revealing a large view of her chest. Would you like to exchange the bonus directly or continue to bet? Chin Haodong asked Saber to give the waitress a few more US dollars, and then said, I said that this man is lucky. It's impossible for him to lose. Will there be any more games for him? The waitress said, if he is willing to accept the challenge, there will be. Chin Haodong said, then bet it all on him. The waitress asked in surprise, you mean, all the $10 million won will be bet on Weak Chicken? Chin Haodong said, that's right. Believe me, he won't let me down. But the opponent and the odds haven't come out yet. It doesn't matter. No matter who the opponent is, no matter what the odds are, you can bet on Weak Chicken to win. Okay, I'll bet for you now. After the waitress finished speaking, she skillfully helped Chin Haodong bet all $10 million on Chinfugwe. After placing the bet, she hesitated for a moment and also bet 10,000 yuan of her private money. She chose Chinfugwe. She felt that the young man in front of her was not ordinary. Maybe he was really a feng shui master. It would not be wrong to bet with him. In a luxury private room backstage of the boxing field, a young man in his 30s was sitting on the sofa, sipping red wine while watching the boxing match on the big screen. His name was Ruan Chengfa, a cousin of Ruan Zhendong. He was in charge of the management of the boxing field here. When he saw Chinfugwe send Crippled Wolf flying with one punch, his expression changed slightly. He raised his hand and pressed a red button on the table. Soon, the manager of the boxing field ran in. What happened just now? Ruan Chengfa asked. The manager said, it's like this, young master. A new boxer came to the boxing field. His code name is Weak Chicken, but he just beat Crippled Wolf uncharacteristically. It was a big upset. A smile appeared on the corner of Ruan Chengfa's mouth. It's good that it's an upset. Our casino will make money if it's an upset. In his opinion, the gamblers in the boxing match just now should have bet on Crippled Wolf. Now that Crippled Wolf had been killed, all the money had become the boxing field's. The manager said, young master, it's not like that. There was an accident in this match. Someone bet $1 million on the newcomer. According to the odds of 110, we should pay him $10 million. Those who bet on Crippled Wolf just now were almost $10 million. That is to say, we didn't make any profit in this match. All of it was won by that person. There's such a thing? Ruan Chengfa frowned. Are they here to mess with us? I'm not sure yet. It might be a coincidence. I just asked our people. She said that the young man claimed to be good at reading faces, so he bet on Weak Chicken. After a pause, the manager said, Young master, now that Weak Chicken has accepted the challenge of the boxing field, and that young man has bet all $10 million on Weak Chicken, what should we do? Another 10 million? Ruan Chengfa's expression became colder and colder. It was obvious that they wanted to use his boxing field as an ATM. He thought for a moment and said, Jin Gang hasn't played in a game for a long time. Let him play today, get rid of that Weak Chicken, and get back our $10 million. Okay, young master. The manager said, what's the odds? The odds can't be too low. Otherwise, everyone will be one-sided. What can we earn? Let's start with 1.5. Obviously, Ruan Chengfa had confidence in the boxer named Jin Gang to win. Okay boss, I'll do it now. After the manager finished speaking, he turned around and left the room. Soon, the big screen announced the opponents and odds of the next match. One side was the boxer Jin Gang, who had won 18 consecutive matches in the boxing field. The other side was Weak Chicken, who had just won a match. The odds were 1.5. After the results came out, the audience exclaimed. No one expected that the boxing field would send Jin Gang out in the second match. Although Jin Gang was not the top boxer in the boxing field, he was definitely very strong. After all, 18 consecutive victories was not a joke. For a time, countless gamblers bet on Jin Gang. However, there were also a few people who were conquered by Chen Fugui's punch just now. With the attitude of gambling, they bet on Chen Fugui. The money added up to millions. Some people felt that they could not bet on this match, so they chose to wait and see. However, people soon discovered that a long string of numbers appeared in the betting area for Weak Chicken. It was $10 million. Someone had directly bet 10 million on him. 10 minutes later, the betting ended and the match officially began. Look, Jin Gang is coming out. In the midst of the noise, a black man who was like an iron tower came out. He was 2 meters tall, and his muscles were bulging all over his body. They flashed with a dark luster, as if they were cast from copper and iron. This big man was really as strong as Jin Gang. Every step he took seemed to make the entire boxing field tremble. Chen Fugui, who stood in front of him, immediately became a lot shorter, and his momentum seemed to be a lot weaker. The manager of the boxing field ran to Jin Gang and whispered a few words in his ear. Jin Gang nodded knowingly. Then, his eyes showed a fierce look as he strode toward the boxing ring. At the front desk, Chen Fugui also slowly walked into the boxing ring, but this time, no one dared to look down on him. After both of them entered the cage, the staff locked the iron door again, and the match officially began. Jin Gang's right foot stomped heavily on the boxing ring, and the entire boxing field seemed to tremble. The whole place seemed to tremble. He looked at Chen Fugui with a murderous look. Kid, you're dead. Chen Fugui just gently rolled his eyes at him and said lightly, you guys talk a lot of nonsense. Hurry up and do it. Go to hell. Jin Gang let out an earth-shattering roar, then suddenly smashed his fists toward Chen Fugui's head. Although his body was huge, he was not clumsy, and his speed was also extremely fast. The size of each fist was not much different from Chen Fugui's head. When he punched out with both fists, the momentum was terrifying. Seeing this situation, just when everyone thought that the thin Chen Fugui would temporarily avoid the attack, they saw that he also punched out with both fists without showing any signs of weakness. Moreover, he smashed his fists against Jin Gang's fists. While everyone was shocked, 2 fists, one big and one small, one black and one white, collided in mid-air, making a muffled bang. Then, there was a cracking sound, followed by the ear-piercing sound of bones breaking. Who was the loser? Everyone stared intently at the two people in the boxing ring. They saw that Chen Fugui was still as if he had been nailed to the ring board. His body did not move at all. On the other hand, King Kong's huge body was sent flying like a broken sack. Both of its arms were in weird shapes, especially its left arm, where a section of eerie white bone pierced through its skin and protruded from the back. Although Chen Fugui's punch did not kill Jin Gang, it had crippled both of his arms. Everyone could see that Jin Gang had lost the ability to fight again. The festival was a bit messy. My wife and I repeated 3 chapters. The main website of Zongheng has made corrections, but the channel data has not yet come. Please understand. We added 3 chapters to apologize. Chapter 432. Looking at the arrogant King Kong again, it was not as simple as having his arms crippled. His courage was completely shattered by Chen Fugui's punch, and his eyes were full of fear. It was no wonder that only those who had experienced the punch just now knew how terrifying it was. He had been in the underground boxing ring for so many years, but he had never seen such a domineering boxing technique. Chen Fugui stood upright in the ring like a javelin. He was not a cruel and bloodthirsty person. Since King Kong had become so cowardly, he did not continue to chase after him. The referee saw that King Kong's hands were crippled. Although he was very surprised, he still fulfilled his duty. After asking King Kong's opinion, he announced that Chen Fugui had won the second game. Another punch sealed the victory. Chen Fugui only used 2 punches, but he won 2 games in a row. The people present were completely dumbfounded. It was reasonable for Chen Fugui to blow up the crippled wolf with 1 punch. Although the crippled wolf had some strength, he was not the top boxer in the boxing ring. However, King Kong was different. He was an amazing man with 18 consecutive wins, but he was also blown up by 1 punch. If it were not for King Kong's bloody arms in front of them, people would have suspected that it was a fake fight. After a short silence, the boxing ring quickly boiled up. Whether it was the winning gamblers or the losing gamblers, they all vented the emotions in their hearts. Was he still weak chicken? He was pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Strong. He was really too strong. In the backstage of the boxing ring, after seeing Chen Fugui defeat King Kong with 1 punch, Ruan Xingfa smashed the wine glass in his hand to the ground. It was not an ordinary punch, but a punch that took away countless of his wealth. Qin Haodong alone bet $10 million on this boxer called weak chicken. According to the odds of 1 to 5, he would lose $50 million. With a livid face, he asked the manager who had just run over, "How much did we lose in this game?" The manager wiped the sweat on his forehead and said, "The bet on weak chicken's victory is about $13 million. We have to lose more than $60 million, and the deposit for winning is more than $10 million. That is to say, we have lost $50 million in this game." Bastard. Ruan Xingfa kicked over the coffee table in front of him. More than $50 million was more than 300 million yuan. How could he explain it to Ruan Zhendong? If the news really got out, he might not be able to keep his position as the person in charge. The manager trembled and asked, "Young master, what should we do next?" "Do you even need to ask?" "Of course, we have to get that $50 million back." Ruan Xingfa took a deep breath, calmed his emotions, and said, "No matter what, let that weakling continue to accept the challenge, and then let Black Panther come out." Every family that opened an underground boxing arena would be on guard against being challenged by others. They would always prepare 1 or 2 of their strongest boxers to keep watch. Players of this level rarely appeared on normal days. They were the stabilizing force of the boxing arena and were at the peak of their passion. The boxing arena had been challenged by others several times before, but in the end, Black Panther appeared and turned the tide. The manager hesitated for a moment and finally said with difficulty, "Young master, let's just forget about it. I don't think Heibao is a match for this person. He had been in the boxing ring for so many years. Although he was not a martial artist, he could still see the comparison. Black Panther was indeed very strong, but he could not beat King Kong with one punch. In contrast, this man called Weak Chicken should be stronger. Forget it. Do you have *King brain? We were kicked to the ground like this, and more than $50 million was taken away. How can our boxing arena survive in the Golden Triangle in the future? Ruan Xingfa was so angry that he slapped the manager in the face. After the first game, it was fine if they stopped. The boxing arena could bear the loss of $10 million. But if they stopped now, then he would lose his job as the person in charge of the boxing arena. I know I was wrong, young master, the manager covered his swollen face and said. He had just expressed his opinion. In his opinion, Black Panther was indeed no match for Chen Fugue. Ruan Xingfa said angrily, hurry up and do it. Go. I'll go right away. The manager asked, young master, what are the odds for this game? Ruan Xingfa thought for a moment and said, 1-2. I see, young master. The manager did not dare to stay there any longer. He turned around and ran out. Ruan Xingfa turned around and looked at the repeated footage of Chen Fugue's fight on the big screen. He also felt that Black Panther was not sure of winning this time. After hesitating for a moment, he took out his mobile phone and dialed Ruan Zhendong's number. At this time, Ruan Zhendong was sitting on the sofa excitedly. He had just received a call from Ruan Zhennan, saying that he had grabbed the sky-high jade and was on his way back. Although he had lost some strength in the afternoon, being able to get the sky-high jade worth $1 billion could be regarded as compensation for the loss. This news made Ruan Zhendong very happy. At this moment, his mobile phone rang again. It was Ruan Xingfa. He picked up his mobile phone and asked, Xingfa, what's the matter? Ruan Xingfa reined in his earlier rage and said respectfully, it's like this, President. Someone came to our boxing arena to challenge us and has already won 2 matches consecutively. The opponent is very strong. I'm thinking, should we let Mr. Anthony make a move? Ruan Zhendong was shocked and asked, don't you have Black Panther there? Is he not a match for him? Ruan Xingfa said, I arranged for Black Panther to fight in the 3rd game, but I feel that Black Panther is not as strong as that person, so I want to ask Mr. Anthony to fight, just in case. Who is the opponent? Where did he come from? How can he have such strong strength? Ruan Zhendong was very shocked. Although there had often been challenges in the past, this had never happened. Ruan Xingfa said, it's a newcomer from Huaxia. I don't know the specific situation yet. Ruan Zhendong suddenly had a bad feeling when he heard that it was a Huaxia person. He said, let Black Panther hold on for a while. I'll let Mr. Anthony go there right away. After hanging up the phone, he waved to a bodyguard and said, go and inform Mr. Anthony immediately and ask him to go to the boxing arena. The bodyguard agreed and turned to leave the room. Ruan Zhendong felt a little more at ease with Anthony's appearance. Anthony was an expert he had hired with a lot of money. He came from the world-famous Siberian training camp and was now the instructor of the Bloody Clothes team. The people who came out of the Siberian training camp were not only strong, but also killing machines. If Black Panther was the trump card of the hot-blooded pinnacle boxing field, then Anthony was the last trump card of all the boxing fields of the Lutheran Society. It was just that he had never fought for many years. In the boxing arena, when Chen Fugue once again accepted the challenge of the boxing arena, the enthusiasm of the guests was immediately ignited. The winner was king. This sentence could not be more appropriate in the black boxing arena. At this time, people had already recognized the strong man in front of them and kept cheering and shouting for him. Soon, the arena showed the 2 sides and the odds for the next game. The veteran gamblers discovered that the boxing field had actually sent out Black Leopard, which made them extremely shocked. It should be known that Black Leopard was the strongest in the boxing field. His legs, which seemed to be made of steel, had kicked and exploded the heads of countless opponents. However, it was also because of this that they saw Chen Fugue's strength. Not only had he locked in 2 consecutive victories with one punch, but he had also forced out the trump card of the boxing arena. Because of this, when the gamblers bet, there was no one-sided situation as before. Although many people still supported Black Panther, many people also bet on Chin Fugui. According to the real-time betting displayed on the big screen, there was not much difference between the people who were optimistic about Black Panther and the people who were optimistic about Chin Fugui. It was double the previous game. At that moment, the screen suddenly flashed and a long string of numbers appeared. It was $50 million, all of which was bet on Chin Fugui. The one who bet was naturally Chin Haodong. He had just won $50 million in the game. He did not take back a single cent and once again bet all of it. The eyes of the young waiter next to him also flashed with excitement. The $10,000 he had just bet had brought him 5 times the profit. Now, it was already $50,000. The odds for this game were 1 to 2. If she could win again, it would be $100,000. She could leave the boxing arena and not work there anymore. Thinking of this, she gritted her teeth and bet all of her $50,000 again. Under the attention of the crowd, Chin Fugui and Black Panther walked to the front stage together. Black Panther's skin was indeed a little dark, but he was not a purebred black man. He was Southeast Asian. He did not look tall, and he was even a little shorter than Chin Fugui. He was the strongest boxer in the arena. Since his debut, he had fought more than 100 games and had never been defeated. Later, he was directly recruited by Ruan Jindong. Compared to his martial arts cultivation, he left a deeper impression on people because of his killing skills, especially his 2 legs. The speed of his legs on the boxing stage was so fast that it made people feel hopeless. It was known as the steel leg sweep. After going on stage, he glanced at Chin Fugui opposite him. His eyes were burning with fighting spirit. Since the boxing arena had let him fight, the other party was definitely an opponent worth fighting. As an excellent black boxer, he had never thought about failure because confidence and momentum were the prerequisites for every black boxer to go on. If his confidence collapsed, then he would not be far from death. Compared to the amazing Black Panther, Chin Fugui did not change at all. He stood there with a straight posture, like a javelin. Although the opponent in front of him was a little stronger than the previous 2, he still did not take him seriously. The 2 men looked at each other quietly on the boxing stage. No one spoke, and no one made the first move. Black Panther kept increasing his momentum, trying to force his opponent to show flaws. However, Chin Fugui stood there motionless, as if his opponent did not exist at all. 5 minutes later, the gamblers in the stands could not hold it in any longer. Shouts and curses rang out. Black Panther's eyes flashed. He had also lost his patience. Suddenly, his body moved. He was as fast as an agile Black Panther, pouncing on his prey. Black Panther did not dare to underestimate the opponent in front of him. He used his ultimate skill, the steel leg sweep. After he leaped into the air, his strongest right leg turned into a sky full of leg shadows, completely covering Chin Fugui. Facing the amazing Black Panther, everyone's eyes were focused on Chin Fugui. They wanted to know how the man who claimed that everyone was weak would deal with it. Would he dodge or fight head-on? At that moment, Chin Fugui moved. Like Black Panther, he also kicked out. Compared to the majestic momentum of the Black Panther's kick, his kick looked simple and unadorned. It simply met the Black Panther's kick head-on, and it was this kick that broke the sky full of leg shadows. Chapter 433. A fierce look flashed in Black Panther's eyes. His strongest skill was his leg technique. He could easily break a stone pillar with a kick. The man in front of him wanted to fight him with his leg. Wasn't he courting death? He was determined in his heart. His legs suddenly sped up a little, and the 2 legs collided with a bang. Strong against strong, leg against leg. Then there was a cracking sound. The 2 men stopped all their movements and stood on the stage like statues. Broken leg. Broken leg. I heard the sound of bones breaking. Whose leg is broken? Weak Chicken or Black Panther? Of course it's Weak Chicken. I've seen Black Panther's leg technique. He can even break a stone pillar with one kick. Are you blind? Don't you see that Black Panther's leg is broken? Amidst the boiling noise, people were surprised to find that Black Panther's calf had been kicked into a V-shape by Chinfugue. The steel sweep leg, which had kicked countless opponents' heads, was actually broken. Black Panther, who had never been defeated since his debut, was actually defeated. And it was still one move, defeating him from his strongest point. Feeling the sharp pain coming from his leg, Black Panther couldn't believe that all this was true. His strongest steel sweep leg couldn't beat the Huaxia man in front of him. How was that possible? Chinfugue slowly retracted his right leg. His current cultivation had reached the second level of covert power. His calf, which was full of genuine qi, could even break a steel pillar, let alone a stone pillar. Not to mention one of Black Panther's legs. I'll fight you. After his failure, Black Panther had lost his mind. He put one hand on the ground and kicked his remaining left leg at Chinfugue. As a proud boxer, he couldn't say the word admit defeat. Moreover, he knew what kind of mission he was shouldering today. If he admitted defeat on the stage, he was afraid that he wouldn't live long after he went down. He would soon be shot to death. Facing Black Panther's dying blow, Chinfugue's eyes flashed with contempt again. He raised his hand and punched out. Generally speaking, a fist was not as powerful as a leg, but the cultivation gap between the two men was too big. One was just an underground boxer, and the other was an expert at the second level of covert power. There was really no comparison. Soon, there was another crack over the boxing field. Black Panther's left leg was broken by Chinfugue's punch. After losing his legs, Black Panther could no longer stand. He fell on the ring with a loud crash. He struggled several times but failed to get up. At the end of the game, Chinfugue won again. There was another burst of cheers at the scene. The gamblers who bet on Chinfugue celebrated their victories one after another. The waitress in a bikini almost jumped up with joy. 2 consecutive victories had brought her $100,000 in income. She turned to look at Chin. And it was because she had followed him to bet that her life changed. Sir, she said. She said to Chin Haodong respectfully. Chin Haodong smiled. It's up to you to decide who to bet on. You don't have to thank me. The waiter said, Sir, you've won the game again. Would you like to win the prize money or continue to bet? Thinking that the man in front of her had already won $100 million, she felt an inexplicable tremble in her heart. I'll continue to bet. As usual, bet on Weak Chicken to win. Chin Haodong glanced at the eager waiter and said, There aren't many chances. If you want to bet, hurry up. There won't be another chance. Sir, do you think Weak Chicken will win this game? The waiter was a little hesitant. She wanted to bet all $100,000, but she was a little uncertain. She wanted to quit while she was ahead. Chin Haodong said with a smile, Trust me. I bet $100 million. What are you afraid of? The waiter thought about it. Chin Haodong didn't hesitate to bet $100 million, which showed that he had enough confidence in Weak Chicken. Coupled with the previous 3 victories, she had been completely convinced by Chin Haodong's vision and decided to gamble again. Thank you, sir. After the waiter said that, she also bet all $100,000 in her hand. On the boxing field, Black Panther, whose legs were broken, had been dragged off. Although the referee was extremely reluctant, he finally announced that Chinfugue had won the game. Chinfugue glanced at him and said, Is there anyone else who wants to challenge? At this point, the referee couldn't make the decision at all. He turned his head to look at the manager of the boxing field. The manager was also anxious with a cold sweat on his face. Even Black Panther, the strongest in the field, had his legs broken. Who dared to challenge this terrible Huaxia man? At this moment, a cold voice came from the door of the boxing field. Huaxia man, I'm here to challenge you. Everyone looked at the source of the voice and saw a 2-meter-tall white man appear at the door of the boxing field. This guy weighed more than 100 kilograms and looked much stronger than King Kong. He was like a big white bear walking. Every step he took caused the boxing field to tremble. The man had a yellow mohawk on top of his head. He looked like a hippie gangster in a Western movie. However, the expression on his face was extremely serious at this time, and his whole body exuded a strong murderous aura. He was the chief instructor of the Bloody Clothes team, Anthony from the Siberian training camp, nicknamed Big White Bear. Seeing Anthony appear, Qin Haodong's face changed a little. This guy didn't have any internal cultivation method. He only relied on crazy training to stimulate his personal potential to raise his cultivation to the peak of the 9th level of overt power, which was very rare. If he wasn't worried, there was an essential difference between overt power and covert power. After all, Chen Fugui was still a few levels higher than this guy. And as a former soldier king, Chen Fugui would not lose to the big white bear in front of him in terms of killing skills and fighting skills. In the backstage of the boxing field, Yuan Xingfa breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Anthony appear on the big screen. Otherwise, he really didn't know how to end today. Qin Haodong had just bet $50 million in this game. Although he had adjusted the odds to 1-2, he still had to pay a bet of $100 million in the end. Although the boxing field made a lot of money before and could take out so much money, he was afraid that Yuan Zhendong would immediately break his bones. Now, he had seen Anthony fight. His skills were terrifying. He was simply a killing machine. Therefore, in his opinion, no matter how powerful the Huaxia man was, he could not be Anthony's opponent. Anthony walked to the front stage step by step. He looked at Chen Fugui with sharp eyes and said, "I want to challenge you." Chen Fugui said indifferently, "Okay, as long as you're not afraid of death." Seeing that Chen Fugui had accepted the challenge, the boxing field manager breathed a sigh of relief. The big screen immediately showed the two sides and the latest odds. According to Yuan Xingfa's arrangement, Chen Fugui's odds were adjusted to 1-1-5, while Anthony's odds fell to 1-2. This didn't mean that Yuan Xingfa had no confidence in Anthony. After operating the casino for so many years, he was very clear about the hearts of these gamblers. At this moment, the lower the odds were, the more these people would bet on Chen Fugui. When Anthony defeated the Huaxia man called Weak Chicken, not only could he get back all the money he had just lost, but he could also make a lot of money. As he had expected, these gamblers had already seen Chen Fugui's terrifying skills. He had won 3 consecutive matches easily, and he had only used one move in each match. Although Anthony also seemed to be full of momentum, they still bet all their chips on Chen Fugui. Yuan Xingfa looked at the rapidly rising betting data on the electronic screen. A sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. At the same time, he stared at Qin Haodong, who was sitting in the VIP seat, hoping that he would bet all his money again. What he was most afraid of now was that the Huaxia man would stop. If that was really the case, the boxing field would be hurt to pay $100 million. Not paying would greatly affect the reputation of the casino. As he wished, Qin Haodong once again bet all the $100 million he had won on Chen Fugui. It wasn't until this moment that Yuan Xingfa was relieved. He sneered at the figure on the big screen and said, "Boy, spit out what you ate." 10 minutes later, the betting time was over and the boxing match began again. On the boxing stage, Chen Fugui glanced at Anthony and said, "You're finally a little better than those trash. Make your move." Anthony said with a murderous look, "You make your move first. If I make my move first, you're dead. You're overestimating yourself." Chen Fugui shook his head and no longer talked nonsense with Anthony. He punched him in the chest. Anthony's pupils shrank as he reached out to grab Chen Fugui's fist. This was a trick he often used. He first broke the opponent's arm and then used his knee to smash the opponent's head into a rotten watermelon. Chen Fugui's fist was not too fast, and it didn't seem to be very powerful. It was easily caught by Anthony. A sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. He wanted to break Chen Fugui's arm, but he was surprised to find that his hand couldn't catch Chen Fugui's fist. Not only could he not catch it, but he couldn't even block it for a moment. This seemingly ordinary fist contained an astonishing amount of power. In the blink of an eye, it pierced through his hands and fiercely smashed into his chest. With a muffled bang, Anthony's body, which weighed more than 100 kilograms, was sent flying in the air and slammed into the iron cage behind him. Seeing that Chen Fugui had sent Anthony flying with one punch, the audience immediately boiled over. Those gamblers who had bet heavily on Chen Fugui howled wildly, "Good job, weak chicken. You're good, kill him, kick his head, crush his balls, egg." Those gamblers who had bet on Anthony were regretting it so much that their intestines turned green. Dirty words kept spewing out of their mouths, trash. You're so King tall, but you can't even block one punch. In the backstage of the boxing field, Ruan Xingfa had been looking at the big screen proudly. Now, the smile on his face froze instantly. He stood there like a stone statue. How was that possible? Wasn't Anthony a killing machine? How could he be sent flying with one punch? Just when everyone thought that Chen Fugui had sealed the victory with one move again, Anthony got up from the ground. No matter what, he was also a warrior at the peak of the 9th level of overt power, and he had rich fighting experience. Although he had suffered some internal injuries just now, it hadn't reached the point of hurting his muscles and bones. He looked at the Huaxia man in front of him, who was several sizes smaller than him. His eyes were unprecedentedly dignified. He had never encountered such a powerful expert before, who was even stronger than the instructor in the Siberian training camp. Chen Fugui looked at Anthony, who had gotten up again, and said faintly, "You're indeed stronger than those people, but you're still a weak chicken." After saying that, he punched Anthony again. After experiencing the strength of his opponent, Anthony didn't dare to take it head-on this time. He slid his feet and flashed about a meter to the side. He was ready to dodge the punch first and then look for an opportunity to fight back. Chapter 434. But soon, he was horrified to find that he couldn't avoid Chen Fugui's punch. It was chasing him like a shadow. Even though he had received years of cruel training and had rich practical experience, he had never seen such a strange boxing technique. Seeing that there was no way to hide, Anthony could only exert all his strength and punch out. The two fists, one big and one small, collided with each other. It was the big fist that was at a disadvantage. Although Anthony's phalanges were not broken like King Kong's, he was still shaken and took 7 or 8 steps back. Chen Fugui didn't give him any chance. He chased after him like a shadow and then slapped him in the chest. Anthony's huge body was sent flying again. He began to spit out mouthfuls of blood in midair. This palm strike was much heavier than the previous one. Not only had his sternum caved in, but his internal organs were also injured. He hit the iron cage heavily and then fell to the ring with a plop. He was completely unconscious. The whole audience was shocked. This Huaxia man named Weak Chicken was too powerful. Even in the face of the fierce Anthony, it only took him 2 moves to end the battle. Then, a burst of cheers sounded in the boxing field. It was earth-shattering and deafening. Chen Fugui's victory meant that they had also won the bet. A lot of money would flow into their pockets. Seeing this scene, Ruan Xingfa fell to the ground with a plop. His face was extremely pale. Not only had Qin Haodong bet $100 million on this match, but other customers had also increased their bets. It added up to almost $100 million. Although he had lowered the odds, he still had to pay an astronomical figure. At this moment, the boxing arena manager ran in a panic. He was very clear about how much money he had lost. He asked nervously, "Young master, what should we do now? Do we still want to continue the challenge?" "Challenge my ass. Who's going to challenge? You or me?" Ruan Xingfa vented all his anger on the manager. Even Anthony had been defeated. Who else could he send to challenge? The manager said in a trembling voice, "But if we don't challenge, then we have to honor the bet now." Will you give it or not? Ruan Chengfa gritted his teeth. This was the most important question. He asked, have you calculated it? How much did you lose? It's about $200 million in total. That Huaxia man alone took $150 million. That bastard, I won't forgive him. At this time, Ruan Chengfa hated Qin Haodong so much that he gnashed his teeth. $200 million was more than 1 billion yuan, but it was gone just like that. Young master, are we going to give it or not? Here. Of course he had to give it to her. If you lose, you have to honor the bet. Ruan Chengfa squeezed out these words through his teeth. If the casino reneged on its debt today, there would be no other choice but to close down. Ruan Zhendong would probably skin him alive. Young master, we can barely scrape together the money, but are we really going to compensate them? This is $200 million. Speaking of this number, the manager could not help but feel his heart ache. What if you don't give it to me? Unless our ring wants to close. What's more, this is the boxing field of the Lutheran Society. If we go back on our word, the boxing fields and casinos in other places will be affected. The boss will definitely kill us. Although he was angry, Ruan Chengfa's mind was still clear, and he could consider the problem from the big picture. The manager said with a bitter face, but if we lose so much money, the boss won't forgive us. Ruan Chengfa said, it's okay to lose the $50 million from the individual customers. These people give us a lot of money every day, and the boxing field will rely on them in the future. But we can't just let go of that gigolo's money like this. We have to get it back. The manager seemed to understand what Ruan Chengfa meant, and asked, young master, what do you want to do? Ruan Chengfa gnashed his teeth and said, you go to the front and cash in all the gambling money first. I'll immediately gather people here. If he dares to make trouble in the casino of the Lutheran Society, I will not only make him spit out all the money, but I will also skin him alive. I understand, young master. The manager answered and hurried to the front desk. Chen Fugui won the 4th game, and the casino no longer challenged him, so he walked out of the ring. Next, the boxing field announced that the game for the day was over, and the next step was to cash in for everyone. Chen Fugui won 4 games in a row, and the casino's commission was almost $5 million. After getting the money, he quickly disappeared into the crowd. The bikini waitress first helped Qin Haodong deposit the $200 million bet into the bank card, and then received her own $150,000. With so much money all at once, it was enough for her to live a comfortable life in Burma. She decided that she would never work in the casino again. Thank you, sir. She suddenly kissed Qin Haodong on the cheek, and then turned around and ran out. She admired and was grateful to the young man who brought her good luck. If Lin Momo and the little fellow were not next to her, she would really want to marry him. When it was over, Qin Haodong and the others left the casino. After getting in the car, his cell phone rang. It was Mao Wenlong. He picked up the phone and listened for a few seconds. Then, he hung up the phone and sneered. Lin Momo asked curiously, what's wrong, Haodong? Qin Haodong said, nothing. As we guessed, the Lutheran Society took action and took away that expensive jade. Lin Momo said, isn't it just a broken stone? Let them take it, Lin Momo said. Qin Haodong smirked and said, who said that? My car was loaded with real expensive jade. Everyone saw it when I loaded the car. Now that it was taken away by the Lutheran Society, they must give me an explanation. Lin Momo smiled. It turned out that Qin Haodong had been digging a hole for the Lutheran Society from beginning to end. It was not enough for him to beat the boxing field. He wanted to extort money from the Lutheran Society. As the two of them were talking, an ear-piercing screech of brakes suddenly came from the front. A few SUVs blocked their way, and then a few more cars rushed over from behind, surrounding their car. Qin Haodong smiled and said, it seems that we have to solve the trouble here before we extort money from the Lutheran Society. He opened the door and got out of the car. Several people from the divine mercenaries protected them in the middle. 20 or 30 gunmen in black jumped out of the SUVs one after another. Each of them had a shiny black Alaska in their hands. The leader was Ruan Qingfa, the head of the boxing field. Qin Haodong took 2 steps forward and said to Ruan Qingfa with a smile, "That's fast. It's a little earlier than I expected." Ruan Qingfa said, "Boy, you're with that weak chicken, aren't you? Are you here to mess with us today?" Qin Haodong said, "You're right. We are indeed on the same side, but we're not here to mess with you. We're just here to take some money." Ruan Qingfa said coldly, "Who the hell are you? How dare you make trouble for the Lutheran Society?" Qin Haodong said, "It's not that I want to make trouble for the Lutheran Society. It's that Ruan Zhenbei of the Lutheran Society came to me at noon and wanted to rob me. So I robbed him. Unfortunately, he was poor and didn't get much money. He only had a few $1,000s with him. So I'm here tonight to make up for the loss." Ruan Qingfa's expression changed and he shouted, "Boy, how dare you talk nonsense when you're about to die?" He didn't believe what Qin Haodong said at all. Ruan Zhenbei was the vice president of the Lutheran Society. He was the only one who robbed others. How could he be robbed? Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I'm telling the truth. It's up to you whether you believe me or not." "I don't believe you." Ruan Qingfa shouted, "Cut the crap. Give us back the 150 million you took from our boxing field. Besides, you've made our casino lose a lot of money today. Give us another 100 million as compensation and I'll spare your life today." Qin Haodong said, "I won the money fair and square from your boxing field. If I lose, I'll take it back. Is this how the Lutheran Society runs a boxing field?" Ruan Qingfa thought he had completely controlled the situation. He shouted arrogantly, "Boy, you only have 2 choices now. One is to pay the money, and the other is to die. Which one do you choose?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "You know what? Are you looking for death? Looking for death? What a joke. How dare you be so stubborn when you're about to die? Believe it or not, I'll blow your head off right now." Ruan Qingfa raised the gun in his hand and pointed it at Qin Haodong. However, as soon as he raised the gun, his hands suddenly became light. The gun was already in Qin Haodong's hand. Qin Haodong held the gun in his hand and casually turned it around. Then the gun turned into parts and scattered on the ground. He looked at Ruan Qingfa playfully and said, "I'm telling you, this thing is useless to me." Ruan Qingfa was shocked. He didn't expect Qin Haodong to be so good at martial arts. He took a few steps back and kept a safe distance from Qin Haodong. He shouted, "Boy, don't think that you're great just because you have some martial arts. No matter how good you are, can you be better than a gun?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Indeed, I'm not better than a gun. But as long as one of your men can lift a gun today, I'll lose." Ruan Qingfa's expression changed. He pointed at Qin Haodong and shouted to his gunmen, "Shoot! Break his legs." Because he hadn't gotten his money back yet, he didn't ask his men to kill Qin Haodong. He just wanted to reduce Qin Haodong's prestige first. After receiving the order, a gunman standing behind him immediately raised his gun and was about to shoot at Qin Haodong. However, as soon as he moved the muzzle, he heard a gunshot. A bloody hole appeared between the gunman's eyebrows and he fell to the ground on his back. "What's going on? Who fired the gun?" Ruan Qingfa was shocked. He quickly looked around and saw dozens of gunmen in the night. These people were dressed in black and had black hats. The black muzzles were pointing at him and his men. At this time, the 2 men in black who led the team came to Qin Haodong. "Boss, we're here." They were Zhang Tiniu and Chen Fugui, along with 30 elites from Daddy's security company. Qin Haodong nodded and said, "Not bad. You came just in time." Seeing that he was surrounded by others, Ruan Qingfa was shocked. At this time, he also recognized Chen Fugui and said in a panic, Is this a trap you set for us?" Qin Haodong said, "You think too much. Originally, I just wanted to make some money in the boxing arena. If you abide by the rules and are willing to accept the loss, it would be fine. However, you just want to use this kind of dirty means, so I have no choice but to play with you. I'm from the Lutheran Society. You can't afford to offend. Ruan Xingfa originally wanted to show off the power of the Lutheran Society, but before he finished speaking, Qin Haodong had already slapped him to the ground. Are you King stupid? Are you forcing me? Can't you see that I'm looking for the Lutheran Society today? Chapter 435. Ruan Xingfa rolled on the ground because of the slap, but his gunman did not dare to move. Qin Haodong glanced around. He had two main purposes for doing this today. First, he wanted to establish his power in Myanmar. Second, he wanted to weaken the Lutheran Society. Naturally, he would not let these people go easily. He said to the gunman of the Lutheran Society, "You have two choices today. Either drop your guns and break your hands, or die." For a gunman, if his hands were broken, he would never be able to make a living in the future. As soon as Qin Haodong finished speaking, several people immediately raised their guns to make a last-ditch struggle. However, as soon as they moved, a bloody hole appeared in their foreheads, and they fell to the ground with a thud. Although the number of these people was not much different from the elites of Daddy Security Company, their quality was much better. They did not even have a chance to raise their guns. After 4 or 5 gunmen died in succession, the others suddenly lost the courage to resist and dropped their guns. Obviously, their lives were more important than their hands. Chen Fugue and Zhang Tiniu immediately went forward to collect these people's guns and then broke their hands. Ruan Xingfa was so scared that he wet his pants. He did not know what the young man would do to him next. Qin Haodong looked at him and said, "Tie him up and take him to the Lutheran Society." After that, he turned around and got in the car. Zhang Tiniu took out a rope and tied Ruan Xingfa up like a dumpling. Then he threw him into the trunk and followed Qin Haodong's car to the front. The headquarters of the Lutheran Society was located in the suburbs of Paikant. It was a huge manor with countless gunmen guarding in front of the gate. At this time, in the Lutheran Society, the Ruan brothers were looking at the pickup truck in front of them excitedly. "Second brother, third brother, thank you for your hard work," Ruan Zhendong said and waved his hand. "Take off the canvas. I want to see what the jade worth $1 billion looks like." After listening to him, everyone's eyes were focused on the huge jade behind the pickup truck. Although these people lived in Myanmar, they had never seen such a big jade. 2 minions went forward and pulled off the canvas quickly. Suddenly, a huge stone was revealed. Everyone exclaimed. Ruan Zhendong stepped forward and looked at it. He turned back and said to Ruan Zhennan, "Second brother, are you sure this is jade?" In the trunk of the car, there was no jade worth $1 billion. It was a huge piece of granite covered with mud and green moss. Ruan Zhennan's face was extremely gloomy. He said in a cold voice, "Damn, we were fooled by that Huaxia man." Ruan Zhenxi also felt that he had lost face. He shouted angrily, "Brother, I'm going to kill that guy right now. How dare he make fun of the Lutheran Society?" Ruan Zhendong's face darkened even more. So many people had gone there, but they had only gotten back a worthless stone. If the news got out, the Lutheran Society would lose face. Just as he was hesitating whether he should agree to Ruan Zhenxi's request, there was a sudden commotion outside the door, followed by a group of people walking in. They were led by a handsome man and a woman, who were holding a very cute little girl in their arms. The family of 3 had faint smiles on their faces. They looked relaxed. It was like they were walking in a park when they entered the headquarters of the Lutheran Society. Behind them were 30 armed gunmen in black. Their gazes were sharp and murderous, and they looked around vigilantly like leopards. "Who are you? How did you get in?" Ruan Zhendong's expression changed greatly. This was the headquarters of the Lutheran Society. It was heavily guarded. He really didn't understand how these people got in. At that moment, one of his men behind him was ready to pull out his gun and shoot Qin Haodong. However, as soon as his right hand touched the handle of the gun, there was a bloody hole in his forehead. He fell on his back. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "President Wan, did you see that? That's how we got in." Although they had met countless gunmen along the way, they didn't even have a chance to pull out their guns in front of the elites of Daddy Security Company. There was a huge gap between the two sides. Many people of the Lutheran Society rushed out when they heard the noise. However, after 7 or 8 of them were killed, no one dared to pull out their guns anymore. Even the well-hidden sentries were killed by the people of Daddy Security Company. Suppression. Complete suppression. Although Qin Haodong and his men didn't have the upper hand in terms of numbers, they were suppressing the entire Lutheran society. No one dared to move. The faces of the Rowan brothers all changed. It was the first time since the Lutheran Society had been established that they had been attacked and suppressed by someone else. The Lutheran Society was the most powerful of the 3 gangs in Myanmar. Not only had they been attacked, they didn't even dare to fart. Qin Haodong walked to Rwanjindong and the others. He said with a smile, "Let me introduce myself. My name is Qin Haodong. I'm a doctor from Huaxia." Rwanjindong said with a livid face, "What do you mean by attacking the Lutheran Society?" Qin Haodong said, "I'm here to get even with the Lutheran Society." He waved his hand behind him. Chen Fugui threw Rwanchengfa, who was tied up like a rice dumpling. "President, help me." Rwanchengfa immediately shouted when he saw Rwanjindong. Rwanjindong was stunned at first, then he glared at him. He thought to himself that Qin Haodong was so stupid that he couldn't even protect himself. How could he save him? He looked at Qin Haodong and said, "Mr. Qin, why did you arrest my man?" Qin Haodong said, "I was in a good mood today. I went to your boxing field to watch a few matches and gambled a few times. I didn't win much money, only $150 million. It's a small amount of money. But I didn't expect that the Lutheran Society couldn't afford to lose. This guy brought people to rob me. What do you think I should do?" The muscles on Rwanjindong's face twitched. $150 million? That's 1 billion yuan. How could it be a small amount of money to Qin Haodong? Before he could speak, Qin Haodong said, "Of course, it's just a small matter. The most important thing is that the Lutheran Society robbed me. I just got a treasure at the raw gemstone exhibition today. It's a priceless jade worth $1 billion. I didn't expect that it would be stolen by the Lutheran Society. Of course, I have to get even with you." As the largest gang in Myanmar, they had been chased to their door. They used to do that to others, but now they were the ones who did it. It was absolutely a great shame. Rwanjinshi couldn't help but say angrily, "Qin, what do you want?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Nothing. You stole my stuff, so you have to give it back to me. Besides, the Lutheran Society has been making trouble for me again and again. You should at least give me some compensation for mental damage. I don't want much. 1 billion yuan. Speaking of this, his expression suddenly became cold. "I'll leave immediately after I give you the money and the jade. Otherwise, I'll destroy the Lutheran Society today." Rwanjinshi was about to get angry, but he was stopped by Rwanjinan. Now that they were being pointed at by a gun, they would only be at a disadvantage if they tried to be tough. He had already seen the situation in front of him clearly. Every member of the Lutheran Society had been killed with one shot. It was not just a matter of good marksmanship. It also showed that Qin Haodong and his men had an orderly division of labor and strong combat power. Even regular soldiers couldn't do that, let alone the motley crew. He said to Qin Haodong, "Mr. Qin, what happened to Rwanchengfa was indeed our fault. I apologize to you here. But you also saw the priceless jade. It's still in the car. It's just an ordinary stone. Do you think we can let it go?" After he said that, the members of the Lutheran Society were all shocked. It was the first time that the second-in-command publicly apologized to someone. Their faces were full of humiliation and unwillingness, but they could do nothing about it. Qin Haodong didn't care. He came to the Lutheran Society that day to show his power. An apology was far from enough. He pointed to the pickup truck parked next to him and said, "That priceless jade was in this truck." Many people saw it. "Now the truck is with you, but you threw a broken stone in the truck and said that the jade turned into a stone. Do you think I can believe that?" Ruan Jindong's face darkened. Damn it. It was obviously blackmail. The Lutheran Society had done this kind of thing many times in the past, but he had never thought that it would be used on him today. Ruan Jinnan's face was livid. No wonder Qin Haodong had only sent a driver to drive the stone around without any defense. It turned out that Qin Haodong had already dug a trap for him. They were waiting for him to take it away and then blackmail him. But there was nothing he could say now. The truck was right there. The Lutheran Society had indeed taken it back. He couldn't deny it even if he wanted to. However, it wasn't $1 billion that they had taken back, but a big trouble. When Ruan Jindong and Ruan Jinnan were trying to think of a suitable solution, Ruan Jinshi burst out. "Damn it, Gigolo. What do you think the Lutheran Society is? How dare you blackmail me? I'm telling you, it's not too late to get out of here. Otherwise, you won't even know how you die." Qin Haodong glanced at Ruan Jinshi, who was still arrogant and domineering. There's an old saying in Huaxia. Don't beat the greedy or the lazy, but beat the ignorant. You still don't understand the situation. That's exactly what I mean. He waved his hand behind him and said, "Slap him." After receiving the order, Zhang Tiniu took 2 steps forward without hesitation. He grabbed Ruan Jinshi like he was grabbing a chick and slapped him in the face. "How dare you slap me? I'm the vice president of the Lutheran Society." Ruan Jinshi was indeed the kind of person who was ignorant. He was used to being arrogant, but now he wanted to show off his power as the vice president. But Zhang Tiniu wouldn't let him off. He slapped Ruan Jinshi in the face before he finished his words. Not only did he swallow the second half of his words, but his teeth also fell to the ground. Seeing the vice president being slapped, many members of the Lutheran Society became restless. Bang! 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 Muffled gunshots rang out one after another. Another 7 or 8 people fell to the ground. The scene suddenly fell into silence. Only the sound of Zhang Tiniu slapping Ruan Jinshi's face resounded in the night sky. The firepower of the Daddy Security Company was too strong. In front of them, the members of the Lutheran Society were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. They had no capital to speak at all. Ruan Jindong said with a livid face, "Let go of my brother, and we can talk about anything else." One of his brothers was disabled, and the other was slapped in the face in public. This kind of shame made him crazy. But for the Lutheran Society, he had to force himself to stay rational. Chapter 436. Qin Haodong didn't even look at Ruan Jindong. He put his hands behind his back and carefully counted the stars in the sky. Without his order, Zhang Tiniu wouldn't stop. He slapped Ruan Jinshi's cheeks back and forth. The sound of slapping made people's scalps tingle. Ruan Jindong clenched his fists and the blue veins on his forehead bulged. But he knew that it was useless to get angry at this time. He would only humiliate himself. After a long time of suffering, Qin Haodong said faintly, "It's done." Zhang Tiniu slapped Ruan Jinshi one last time and then returned to Qin Haodong's side. Ruan Jindong hurriedly asked 2 of his men to help Ruan Jinshi up. At this time, Ruan Jinshi, the vice president, was no longer arrogant. His handsome face was now like a pig's head. If Ruan Jindong hadn't seen him being beaten with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that the person in front of him was his brother. Qin Haodong looked at the Ruan brothers again and asked, "Can we talk now?" Ruan Jinnan said, "Of course, Mr. Qin. We'd like to talk with you, but this is not a good place to talk. How about going to the hall?" As the think tank of the Lutheran Society, Ruan Jinnan had already seen the situation clearly. It was impossible to fight against this young man face to face, because the 30 gunmen behind him were too powerful. They were like killing gods. The best way to solve the current situation was to separate Qin Haodong from these people, and then capture the leader first. As long as Qin Haodong was captured, his men would have to be cautious. Although he thought so, he didn't have much hope. He could only make a desperate attempt. If he were in Qin Haodong's position, he would never separate from his men. But something surprising happened. Qin Haodong said without hesitation, "Yes, as long as the Lutheran Society is sincere, we can talk anywhere." He said yes. He actually said yes. Ruan Jinan suppressed his ecstasy and tried to keep calm. He said, "Mr. Qin, please come with me." As he spoke, he turned around and winked at one of his confidants behind him. Then he and Ruan Jindong led Qin Haodong to the gate of the villa behind them. Originally, he wanted to dissuade Qin Haodong from bringing too many men into the house. But before he could speak, Qin Haodong said to Zhang Tinu and the others, "Wait for me here. I'll have a good talk with gang leader Wan." After that, he took Lin Momo and the little fellow into the living room of the villa. As the Emperor Greenwood, who had lived for 500 years, Qin Haodong could see through Ruan Jinnan's plan at a glance. However, today's purpose was to establish power in the Lutheran Society. Only by making them use all their means could they be completely convinced. As soon as they entered the villa, one of Ruan Jinnan's men hurriedly left. His name was Zhao Er, and he had been following Ruan Jinnan for more than 10 years. Naturally, he understood what his master wanted him to do. He took out his phone and dialed a number, then hurried to the backyard. In a corner of the Lutheran Society's manor, there was a 3-room tile-roofed house. The tile-roofed house looked a little out of place with other buildings, but there was a special old man living there. As gangsters, the Ruan brothers were very clear about the importance of masters. A year ago, Ruan Jinnan invited an old man named Gu Chuanxiu. The old man looked ordinary, but he was very arrogant. The Ruan brothers also served him very carefully. They gave him whatever he wanted, and built a tile-roofed house here according to his requirements. At first, the people of the Lutheran Society were not convinced by Gu Chuanxiu. They thought that the old man was here to cheat them. Until one day, Gu Chuanxiu defeated 30 members of the Bloody Clothes team by himself. At the same time, he defeated the instructor of the Bloody Clothes team, Anthony, with one move, which shocked everyone. Everyone then knew that the old man was a legendary master. Since then, no one dared to provoke him. Gu Chuanxiu also sat in the room all day to practice, and rarely went out. The Ruan brothers also regarded him as their last trump card. They would not take him out unless it was a critical moment. Today was obviously a critical moment. After receiving Ruan Jinnan's instructions, Zhao Er hurried over to ask Gu Chuanxiu for help. Qin Haodong followed the Ruan brothers into the living room, as if he had returned to his own home. There was no vigilance on his face, and he completely ignored the 4 or 5 bodyguards that Ruan Jinnan brought in. Then he looked around. The Lutheran Society was indeed a rich gang. The 200-square-meter hall was extremely luxuriously decorated. It seemed that he would have to extort more money from them later. After both of them sat down, Ruan Jindong glanced at the 4 bodyguards behind him. He felt much more at ease when he saw the pistols on their waists. He said, "Mr. Qin, tell me, how do you want to deal with what happened today?" Qin Haodong said, "Ruan Xingfa brought people to kill me for $150 million. It's very simple. That is, give me another $150 million as mental compensation." "What else?" A fierce light flashed in Ruan Jindong's eyes. This guy had messed with his place, taken $150 million, and destroyed many of his best men. Now he was asking for more money from him. He really thought that the Lutheran Society was his ATM machine. Qin Haodong didn't care about his murderous eyes at all. He said lightly, "Also, you stole my jade. You must return it to me." Ruan Jinnan said, "Mr. Qin, let's be frank. That jade has already been replaced by you. How can we return it to you? Did they switch? That's impossible. You must have hidden it. Qin Haodong looked at them playfully and said, if you don't return the jade, then you'll have to pay $1 billion. Ruan Zhendong's expression changed. He said in a deep voice, $1 billion? Do you think the Lutheran Society is a bank? Qin Haodong said, I don't care what you are. This jade is worth that price. Someone offered $1 billion at the raw gemstone exhibition, but I didn't sell it. So, the Lutheran Society got a big bargain. How about this, I'll give you a small change. Just give me 7 billion yuan, 7 billion yuan? What a joke. Ruan Zhennan said with a sullen face, Qin, do you think you can talk to us like this now? Qin Haodong didn't seem to see his threat. He said lightly, what's wrong? Is there anything different? Ruan Zhendong said, those men here can't help you. You're the meat on our chopping board now. What qualifications do you have to bargain with us? After saying that, he waved his hand, and the 4 bodyguards behind him reached for the pistols at their waists. However, just as their hands touched the handles of the guns, each of them had a shiny silver needle in between their eyebrows, and then they fell to the ground dejectedly. Ruan Zhendong and Ruan Zhennan felt that something was wrong. They quickly looked back and saw that the 4 bodyguards were dead. They were shocked. Qin Haodong just raised his hand. They didn't even see anything, but the 4 bodyguards were killed just like that. Only then did they realize that even without Zhang Tiniu and the others, his men still couldn't take out their guns in front of Qin Haodong. No wonder Qin Haodong turned a blind eye to them when they brought the bodyguards in. It turned out that he didn't take them seriously at all. He could kill them by raising his hand. Qin Haodong looked at the 2 panicked men and said, I really don't know where you got the courage to think that I'm the meat on your chopping board. Well, without the bodyguards, Ruan Zhendong and Ruan Zhennan lost their confidence. They kept looking at the door, hoping that Gu Chuanxiu would come soon. Qin Haodong knew what they were thinking. He smiled and said, You've tried so hard to invite me to the living room. Do you have any tricks up your sleeves? Don't worry. Just use whatever tricks you have. I'll take them all. I'll make sure that the Lutheran Society is convinced today. Where did you come from? You're so arrogant. As soon as he finished speaking, an old man with a long beard walked in from outside the living room. The old man looked ordinary, but in fact, he was half a step away from the Supreme Power Realm. He was only a little bit away from the Supreme Power Realm. After seeing the old man, the Ruan brothers felt like they had seen their savior. They hurried to greet him and said, Senior Gu, we'll have to trouble you this time. Don't worry. As long as I'm here, no one can touch the Lutheran Society. Gu Chuanxiu used to be a rogue cultivator. He didn't belong to any sect. After a lifetime of cultivation, he finally touched the threshold of the Supreme Power Realm. That was why he stayed in the Lutheran Society and concentrated on cultivation. He hoped that one day he could break through the bottleneck and directly become a Supreme Power Realm Master. These days, he had received a lot of gifts from the Lutheran Society. The Ruan brothers would give him any rare medicinal materials he needed. Now that the Lutheran Society was in big trouble, he couldn't just stand by and watch. After patting his chest to make a guarantee, he turned to look at Qin Haodong and Lin Momo. In his opinion, the 2 young men were nothing special except that they were a little handsome. He didn't understand how the Lutheran Society, which had always been arrogant, had turned out to be like this. At the same time, Qin Haodong was also looking at Gu Chuanxiu. He had thought that the Ruan brothers had some great trump card, but it turned out that they were just an old man half a step away from the Supreme Power Realm. If it had been a month ago, he would have turned around and run when he saw Gu Chuanxiu. But it was different now. Even Lin Momo had reached the early stage of the Gold Core Realm, which was equivalent to the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm. How could she take an old man half a step away from the Supreme Power Realm seriously? Qin Haodong and Lin Momo both practiced cultivation methods. Ordinary people couldn't see the depth of their cultivation at all. Gu Chuanxiu naturally didn't know his cultivation method either. He said proudly, "Boy, kneel in front of gang leader Wan and beg for mercy right now. I can spare your life." Qin Haodong smiled disdainfully and said to Wan Zhendong, "Is this old man your trump card? To be honest, he's still too weak. Do you have any other cards? Play them all together." Gu Chuanxiu flew into a rage when he saw that the young man didn't take him seriously at all. "Boy, you're courting death." Qin Haodong glanced at him and said with a smile, "Old man, you're not convinced, are you? Well, as long as you can defeat my child's mother, you can do whatever you want today. If you can't even defeat my wife, then don't blame me for being rude." He was doing this to hone Lin Momo's cultivation. Lin Momo was different from Yagi Yukheim and Hu Shaoxian. She had suddenly turned from an ordinary person to a third-level Supreme Power Realm Master. She had cultivation, but her moves and fighting experience were still lacking. If she fought with an expert of the same level, she would definitely be at a disadvantage. She had to find someone to hone her skills. It was not easy to find an opponent. If her level was too low, she wouldn't be able to practice. It was perfect to use the old man half a step away from the Supreme Power Realm as a whetstone. He took the little fellow from Lin Momo and said, "Momo, beat this guy hard. Don't be polite." Chapter 437. Wan Zhendong and Wan Zhennan's eyes lit up. They shouted in unison, "Will you keep your word?" It was no wonder that they were excited. Although Gu Chuanxiu was very powerful, they didn't dare to bet all their money on him after seeing Qin Haodong's acupoint shooting with silver needles. Moreover, Qin Haodong had 30 extremely powerful men outside, and the Lutheran society couldn't compete with them. However, it was different to deal with the beautiful woman in front of them. In their opinion, Gu Chuanxiu could defeat Lin Momo no matter what. Qin Haodong said, "Of course. I always keep my word. I won't rob you after losing money like you did." Seeing that he was serious, Lin Momo asked nervously, "Haodong, can I do it?" Although Qin Haodong had taught her some skills and moves after she reached the early stage of the Gold Core realm, she had never fought with anyone before. She was inevitably nervous. Qin Haodong held the little fellow in one hand and patted her on the shoulder with the other. He said, "Don't worry. This old man is very stupid. You can beat him easily." Seeing that her mother was going to fight, the little fellow clapped her hands excitedly and shouted, "Come on, Mama. Beat this old man." Lin Momo nodded. She had a kind of blind trust in Qin Haodong now. Moreover, with Qin Haodong by her side, she wouldn't let herself suffer any losses. Gu Chuanxiu was about to go crazy with anger. After all, he was an expert who was about to step into the Supreme Power Realm. Now he was being despised by the three of them in front of him. It was too much. "Since you want to die, I'll send you three to hell together." Gu Chuanxiu shouted angrily and raised his hand to slap Lin Momo's face. Seeing that the old man was going to make a move, Lin Momo gritted her teeth and closed her eyes to slap him as well. Seeing that Lin Momo had to close her eyes to make a move, Gu Chuanxiu became even angrier. His palm collided with Lin Momo's palm fiercely. With a loud bang, a shocking scene appeared. Lin Momo stood there without moving, but Gu Chuanxiu was shaken 7 or 8 steps back. The powerful genuine qi made the old man's eyebrows and beard stand up. Seeing the scene in front of them, Wan Zhendong and Wan Zhennan were so shocked that they almost bit their tongues. They knew very well how powerful Gu Chuanxiu was. He was a ruthless man who could defeat Anthony in one move. However, he was defeated by the woman in front of them. It was unbelievable. The one who was most shocked was Gu Chuanxiu. He was a master who was half a step to the Supreme Power Realm and was very close to entering the ranks of the Supreme Power Realm. However, the internal strength of the woman in front of him was stronger than his, and it was not just a little bit stronger. Could it be that this woman was a Supreme Power Realm? How could this be? He had never heard of such a young female grandmaster. After repelling Gu Chuanxiu with one palm, Lin Momo opened her eyes and felt much more at ease. It seemed that the old man was not very strong. If Gu Chuanxiu could hear her voice, he would definitely break down immediately. What did she mean by not very strong? He was a half-step to the supreme power realm. She was the one who was too strong, okay? No. No. First of all, you can't close your eyes when facing the enemy. Second, you must unite your essence, qi, and spirit. You didn't even use 1/10 of the power of the move just now. If you can unite your mind and spirit, you can definitely make the old man vomit blood. Qin Haodong was busy giving instructions on the spot. Hearing his words, Gu Chuanxiu almost spat out a mouthful of blood. What is this? Is he taking me as a normal training partner? This is too much. However, he had no time to care about anything else. He rushed to Lin Momo again and attacked Lin Momo with all kinds of skills, such as fists, palms, fingers, legs, and feet. After all, Lin Momo was just a beginner. In any case, she was an expert at the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm, which was several levels higher than Gu Chuanxiu. Moreover, she practiced the cultivation method, so her 6 senses were extremely sharp. Although she was busy for a while, she still managed to deal with the attacks. Qin Haodong secretly nodded. It seemed that the whetstone was just right. If her cultivation was a little lower, she would not be able to train her. If her cultivation was a little higher, Lin Momo would be defeated. He kept giving instructions to Lin Momo on the spot. You used the 5 Phoenix Rising Sun too early. You should change it faster, this move is wrong. You should slap him in the mouth, and this move, you should kick his ass. The little fellow kept clapping her hands to encourage Lin Momo. Mommy, come on, mommy, beat him hard. Gu Chuanxiu was so angry that his beard twitched. Is this really a fight between masters? On one side, there is on-site guidance, and on the other side, there is shouting slogans. Who do they think they are? In anger, he kept increasing his attacks, wanting to defeat Lin Momo as soon as possible. However, the gap between their cultivation was too big. No matter how hard he tried, he could not change this fact. On the contrary, as she became more familiar with the moves, Lin Momo became more and more calm, and her moves became more and more experienced. Under Qin Haodong's guidance, her combat effectiveness continued to improve. Under this situation, the situation on the field began to change dramatically. At the beginning, Lin Momo was tired to deal with the attacks, but gradually, Gu Chuanxiu was at a disadvantage. After fighting for more than 10 minutes, Lin Momo's advantage in cultivation slowly came into play. She hit Gu Chuanxiu's shoulder with her palm and directly sent him flying. Ruan Zhendong and Ruan Zhennan's expressions changed greatly. They never expected that the unattainable Gu Chuanxiu in their eyes would be defeated by the woman brought by Qin Haodong. Gu Chuanxiu's eyes also turned red with anger. He was an expert half a step to the supreme power realm, and he had his own pride. In any case, he could not accept being defeated in this way. Qin Haodong said excitedly, "You don't accept it, do you?" Again, this time doesn't count. Turning his head, he said to Lin Momo, "You did a good job this time. You've made progress, but you're still not very skilled in using your strength. It's a little late. Otherwise, this old man would definitely vomit blood. Pay more attention this time." Gu Chuanxiu had never thought that he, a half-step to the supreme power realm, would be used as a training target. Where was the dignity and pride of the strong? In anger, he rushed to Lin Momo again. Unfortunately, anger was useless in front of strength. As Lin Momo continued to improve, the gap between them became wider and wider. This time, Gu Chuanxiu only lasted for less than 5 minutes. Once again, Lin Momo kicked him in the butt and he directly flew out. Again. Gu Chuanxiu rushed back like a madman. At this time, his spirit was on the verge of collapse. 3 minutes later, he was hit in the back by Lin Momo's palm. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Qin Haodong shouted, "You did a good job this time. You're much more skilled than before, but you must control your strength. You can't use too much strength. This old man is too old. If he gets injured, no one will be your training partner." Hearing this, Gu Chuanxiu vomited a large mouthful of blood again. "No, I give up." Qin Haodong hurriedly shouted, "Don't. The Lutheran Society is counting on you. You can't give up. The last round doesn't count. Let's start again." The fourth time, Gu Chuanxiu was hit by Lin Momo again. He began to vomit blood in the air. He got up from the ground and looked at Qin Haodong with a frightened face. He said, "No, I really don't want to fight this time. If you hit me again, my old bones will die. It doesn't matter. Let's do it again. Just one more time. I'll tell her to be gentle." Qin Haodong tried to persuade Gu Chuanxiu. But this time, no matter how hard he tried, Gu Chuanxiu would not fight again. The palm just now was not light. If he continued to fight, he would really die here. The most important thing was that he had seen the gap between his cultivation and Lin Momo's. No matter how hard he tried, he could not understand where this freak had come from. She obviously had no martial arts background, but her cultivation was frighteningly high. "Well, since you're old, let's stop today. We'll practice another day." Qin Haodong turned his head to look at the Ruan brothers and said, "What do you think? What else do you have to say? If there's a master, we can find him again. The last round doesn't count." Ruan Zhendong and Ruan Zhennan were completely dumbfounded. Originally, they had called Qin Haodong to the reception room because they wanted to capture Qin Haodong first and use him to threaten those ruthless people outside. But they had never expected that the two young men in front of them were even more ruthless. Even Gu Chuanxiu, who was regarded as a god, was beaten like a dog. What else could they do? Only then did they realize what kind of person they had provoked. If they had known that Qin Haodong was so powerful, they would not have dared to think about the jade, which was worth $10 billion, let alone $1 billion. Now they could not afford to provoke him. What if they couldn't beat him? Did they really have to pay 7 billion yuan? But the number was too big. Even if they were willing, the Lutheran Society could not afford that much money. Even though Ruan Zhennan was known as a resourceful person, he had no way to deal with Qin Haodong's power. Just when the two of them were at a loss, Zhao Er suddenly ran in from outside and shouted, "President, General Li Site is here. He brought a lot of people with him. They have surrounded us. That's great. Thank God. The reinforcements are finally here." Ruan Zhendong felt like crying. No matter how powerful Qin Haodong was, no matter how good his martial arts skills were, General Li Site was the master of the Golden Triangle after all. No matter how powerful Qin Haodong was, it was impossible for him to fight against tens of thousands of troops. Ruan Zhennan was also relieved. The Lutheran Society had always been on good terms with General Li Site, especially with Han Baochang. Just in case, he had asked Zhao Er to call Han Baochang and briefly explain the situation here. He did not expect that General Li Site would come in person, which showed how much importance he attached to the Lutheran Society. After the excitement, he pulled Ruan Zhendong back a few steps, for fear that Qin Haodong would take them as hostages. Then he shouted, "Qin, I'm telling you, you're going to die today. General Li Site will definitely help us." Qin Haodong smiled and sat back on the sofa with the little fellow in his arms. "That's great. I'll wait here and see what General Li Site will do for you." While they were talking, there was a noise at the door. A group of soldiers with live ammunition broke in first. Then General Li Site, in a general's uniform, strode into the living room, followed by the butler, Han Baochang. Ruan Zhendong immediately walked up and said excitedly, "General, you're finally here. You have to help us. The Lutheran Society has been bullied badly," but halfway through his words, he was surprised to find that General Li Site did not pay attention to him at all. Instead, he strode to Qin Haodong and asked with concern, "Dr. Qin, are you all right?" He was completely dumbfounded. What was going on? Wasn't General Li Site here to help him? Chapter 438. Seeing General Li Site's respectful attitude towards Qin Haodong, Wang Zhendong and Wang Zhennan were completely dumbfounded. They didn't know what to do for a while. What they didn't know was that General Li Site seemed to be dozens of years younger after taking the physique-improving pill left by Qin Haodong. He was grateful and respectful to the young man in front of him. When he heard that Qin Haodong had a conflict with the Lutheran Society, he immediately rushed over with his men. Otherwise, the Lutheran Society wouldn't have made him come in person. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "General, I'm fine. I'm talking to the two presidents." Li Site asked, "Dr. Qin, what's going on? If the Lutheran Society has wronged you, tell me. I'll help you." Hearing that, Wang Zhendong and Wang Zhennan almost cried out. How could he be wronged? It's always been the Lutheran Society that has been wronged. Now, their strength, money and face were damaged. They couldn't be more wronged. At that moment, the excitement on their faces had disappeared. They had rejoiced for nothing. It was obvious that General Li Site was there to support that guy. The Lutheran Society was completely finished. Qin Haodong said, "General, I found a treasure at the raw gemstone exhibition today. It's a piece of jade worth $1 billion. After the Lutheran Society got the news, they took it away. Then I won some money in the boxing field of the Lutheran Society. However, they couldn't afford to lose, so they sent people to take it away. I think the Lutheran Society has gone too far, so I came here to talk to the two presidents." General Li Site banged the table after hearing that. He turned his head and glared at Wang Zhendong and Wang Zhennan. He said, "What do you want? Don't you know that Dr. Qin is my guest? How dare you take Mr. Qin's thing? Give it back now." The Ruan brothers' faces turned bitter. They thought to themselves, "What did I get? How dare you give it back? It's just a worthless stone. You don't want it." Wang Zhendong said with a bitter face, "General, there's a misunderstanding. We didn't know that Mr. Qin was your guest. Otherwise, we wouldn't have dared to do it. At the same time, we really didn't get that jade. The car with the jade is parked in your yard. This is called catching the culprit red-handed." Qin Haodong then showed a magnanimous expression. "Well, I'll be more generous. I don't care if you hid or lost the priceless jade, I won't care about it anymore. Just pay me the money." Wang Zhendong almost burst into tears. He thought to himself, "Is this King magnanimity? This is daylight robbery. I didn't even take your things, so why should I compensate you?" But now the situation was like this. Even List was on Qin Haodong's side. What else could they do? Compensation was inevitable, so they could only beg Qin Haodong to ask for less. He said with a bitter face, "Mr. Qin, first of all, the Lutheran Society is indeed in the wrong. We are willing to compensate you, but the price you mentioned is too high. Even if we were to be dismantled, we wouldn't have 7 billion yuan. 7 billion yuan? List was shocked to hear this number. As an experienced Jianghu man, he had basically figured out what was going on. Qin Haodong was making trouble for the Lutheran Society. Anyway, the Lutheran Society would hand over half of its income to him every year. He couldn't just stand by and watch. He said to Qin Haodong, "Mr. Qin, the Lutheran Society seems to be doing well and can make a lot of money every year, but it also has a lot of expenses. There are many people in the gang, and every place needs money. 7 billion yuan is really too much. They can't afford it at all. For my sake, could you ask them to compensate less? Well, since you've spoken, I won't argue with them anymore. Anyway, that jade was picked up from the river. It didn't cost me much." Qin Haodong said to Wang Zhendong, "Tell me, how much can you compensate me?" Wang Zhendong said, "To tell you the truth, we can't afford $1 billion even if we sell everything we have. How about 1 billion yuan?" After listening to him, Qin Haodong lowered his head and thought about it. From the financial situation of the Jade Gang, it could be seen that the Lutheran Society, which was also one of the top 3 gangs, couldn't afford that much money. The main purpose of his visit to the Lutheran Society that day was to establish his power. Money was secondary. Now that he had achieved his goal, the Rowan brothers would not dare to touch his jade pit no matter how much courage they had. Thinking of this, he nodded and said, "Well, I'm not a greedy person. For general list's sake, 1 billion yuan it is." Ruan Zhendong's heart was bleeding. Qin Haodong had won $150 million from him, which was 1 billion yuan. In the end, he had to pay 1 billion yuan to Qin Haodong. He even made it sound like he was reluctant. "I'm a gangster, not a bank." However, he only dared to think about it in his heart. He didn't dare to show it, for fear that Qin Haodong would destroy his Lutheran Society if he was unhappy. List breathed a sigh of relief. Although he was on Qin Haodong's side, he didn't want to embarrass the Lutheran Society too much. After all, he needed them to make money for him in the future. He said, "That's good. I'll be the middleman for you. Let's forget about this. We'll be friends when we meet again in the future." So Ruan Zhendong wrote a check for 1 billion yuan to Qin Haodong as compensation for the apology of the Lutheran Society. After today's incident, the strength of the Lutheran Society had been greatly damaged. They no longer had any advantage among the top 3 gangs. Moreover, 2 billion yuan had almost drained their cash flow. From this point of view, they were not as rich as the Jade Gang and the White Wolf Gang. It would take some time for them to completely recover. After that, Qin Haodong took his people back to his residence. That day was very successful. Not only did he get 2 billion yuan, but he also weakened the strength of the Lutheran Society. Most importantly, he had established his own WeChat among the top 3 gangs in Myanmar. In the future, no one would dare to touch his business. Not long after he came back, Saber came in to report that Gu Chuanxiu wanted to see him. "What is this old man doing here? Is he not satisfied with being a sparring partner?" Qin Haodong said, "Let him in." Soon, Saber brought Gu Chuanxiu in. The old man spat out several mouthfuls of blood during the day. He looked a little dispirited. "Old man, what can I do for you? Are you not satisfied with the fight just now? Do you want to fight again?" "No. No." Gu Chuanxiu waved his hands and said with a frightened face, "I'm here to ask Mr. Qin for a favor." "What do you want from me? Tell me, what's the matter?" Gu Chuanxiu said, "Mr. Qin, I can see that you're a master. I've been stuck in the half-step supreme power realm for almost 10 years. I've touched the threshold, but I just can't get over it. As long as you can help me break through the bottleneck of the supreme power realm, my old life will be yours." It turned out that the old man was completely convinced by Lin Momo today. At the same time, he also realized a problem. Lin Momo's cultivation did not seem to have been achieved through hard work. She had been helped by a master, and that master was probably the young man next to her. Since Qin Haodong could help an ordinary person become a supreme power, he must have a way to help him break through the bottleneck of a half-step supreme power realm. Qin Haodong glanced at him and thought that the old man was quite smart. He said, "To be honest, I can help you, but you and I are neither friends nor relatives. Why should I help you?" Hearing that Qin Haodong could really help him break through the bottleneck, Gu Chuanxiu was so excited that his beard and eyebrows jumped up. He quickly said, "Mr. Qin, as long as you can help me break through, I'll be at your service for the rest of my life." Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, "Well, I'll help you break through, and then you can stay in Myanmar. I've opened a new jade mine here, and you can help me guard the industry here." Gu Chuanxiu said, "Don't worry, Mr. Qin. If you let me stay in Myanmar, I'll never leave." Qin Haodong was very satisfied with the old man's attitude. He flicked his finger and a big spirit culturing pill fell into Gu Chuanxiu's hand. "Eat it, and I'll help you break through now." Gu Chuanxiu knew that if Qin Haodong wanted his life, it would not be so troublesome, so he swallowed the pill without hesitation. Then, He sat cross-legged on the ground and began to run his chi to break through. With the help of the big spirit culturing pill, the richness of his genuine chi suddenly doubled, and he began to crazily break through the bottleneck of the supreme power realm. Qin Haodong sat next to him and watched for a long time. He thought that the old man's aptitude was really poor. No wonder he was still in the half-step supreme power realm after practicing all his life. He couldn't break through even after taking a big spirit culturing pill. He shook his head gently, went behind Gu Chuanxiu, and slapped him hard on the back of his heart. Gu Chuanxiu was trying his best to break through. Suddenly, there was a click in his mind, as if something had broken. Then, his genuine chi soared and his momentum suddenly rose. He finally broke through the supreme power realm. Feeling the power of the supreme power realm, Gu Chuanxiu was so excited that he even burst into tears. He had worked hard all his life, but he could not cross the threshold. With the help of Qin Haodong, he broke through in just half an hour. Qin Haodong said, "Old man, don't cry. You're crying in my room at night. It seems that I've done something to you. If someone sees it, they will think that I have a special hobby." Gu Chuanxiu raised his hand to wipe away his tears and knelt down in front of Qin Haodong. "Mr. Qin, please accept me as your disciple. Come on, you're too old. I don't want an old disciple like you." Qin Haodong waved his hand and an invisible force lifted Gu Chuanxiu up. Gu Chuanxiu said hurriedly, "I don't care about age." "I do. Look at your big eyebrows and beard. People will think that you're my master if I take you out." Qin Haodong would never accept such an old disciple. He said, "You don't have to be my disciple. Just guard the jade mine for me. You'll benefit a lot in the future." Just now, Gu Chuanxiu had already felt Qin Haodong's strength. Even though he had entered the threshold of the supreme power realm, the gap between them was still huge. He could not compete with Qin Haodong at all. Although he was very disappointed, he also knew that it was a great opportunity to help him break through, so he did not dare to ask for more. "Mr. Qin, don't worry. I, Gu Chuanxiu, will definitely do what you ask me to do." After that, he bowed to Qin Haodong again and turned to leave. So far, the task in Myanmar had been completely completed, and they had gained a lot of extra rewards. Early the next morning, he and Lin Momo took the little fellow back to Jiangnan City by plane. In Neon, Yagyu Yukheim went straight to Yagyu Shinji's room after returning to the Yagyu family. Yagyu Shinji looked happy when he saw her and said, "Yukheim, you're back so soon. How is Qin Haodong? Has he been eradicated?" Yagyu Yukheim said, "This trip to Myanmar was very smooth. I've killed Qin Haodong, but I still have a very important thing to report to my father." Chapter 439. Let's talk in the secret room. Seeing that Yagyu Yukheim was serious, Yagyu Shinji directly took Yagyu Yukheim to the family's secret room and told the warriors guarding the door not to disturb them no matter what happened before they came out. After the two of them entered the secret room, they closed the heavy door. Yagyu Shinji asked, "Yukheim, what happened?" At this time, Yagyu Yukheim's expression changed. The previous respect disappeared and was replaced by hatred. Yagyu Yukheim took out the Dujijiri Yasutsuna and said in a cold voice, "Yagyu Shinji, you beast. The important thing I want to say is to avenge my parents today." Yagyu Shinji's expression changed slightly, but he still said calmly, "Yukheim, what are you talking about? Are you crazy? I am your father. Don't lie to me anymore." Yagyu Yukheim said with hatred, "I already knew the truth. After you raped my mother, you killed my father. In order to make me work for your Yagyu family, you adopted me. All these years, I have been thinking about revenge every day, but I am not strong enough. Now I finally have this day. Just wait to go to hell." The muscles on Yagyu Shinji's face twitched as he said, "Who did you hear this from?" "It was your dead son. He told me when he was drunk." Yagyu Shinji suddenly laughed wildly. After laughing enough, he said, "Since you already know the truth, There is no need for me to hide it from you. Yes, I did kill your parents, but can you blame me? Your mother was too attractive, but she refused me. I am the heir of the Yagyu family. She is just an ordinary woman. What qualifications does she have to refuse me? And your father, who didn't know what was good for him, clamored to fight with me for a woman. How could he be my opponent? So I killed him with a knife. Yagi Yukaim scolded, Beast, you finally admit it. Admit it. Why don't I admit it? Even if you don't say it, I want to make it clear. Yagi Shinji's eyes were obscene. He looked at Yagi Yukaim and said, I have to say that you are really beautiful. You are even more beautiful than your dead mother. Do you know how much I have drooled for you over the years? However, in order to play the role of a father, I have been enduring it. Now, I finally don't have to endure it anymore. Today, I will conquer you, and then let you give me many sons to inherit our Yagyu family's business in the future. Shameless. Yagi Yukaim was so angry that her whole body trembled. She said with a murderous look, Today, I will kill you, beast, to avenge my dead parents. It's too late, you know. Even Amaterasu isn't on your side. Yagyu Shinji laughed wildly again and then said arrogantly, You should have done it when you broke through to the heavenly ninja realm. At that time, if you had secretly assassinated me, there would have been some hope of success. But you stupid woman, you actually waited for so long and publicly declared war on me. You know what? Just yesterday, I broke through to the second level of Heavenly Ninja. Now, I am an expert of the second level of Heavenly Ninja, the highest achievement in the history of the Yagyu family. Now, even without you, no one dares to provoke our Yagyu family, because they can't bear the anger of a second-level Heavenly Ninja. After that, the momentum of his body suddenly rose, shattering the kimono he was wearing, revealing his strong muscles. How is it? See, this is the strength of a second-level Heavenly Ninja. Obediently lie on the bed and wait for me to pamper you. Lucky. After that, Yagyu Shinji laughed wildly again. In his opinion, he had completely controlled the situation, and Yagi Yukaim could only be a helpless sheep. Ravaged by him. Yagi Shinji, it's too early for you to be happy. Yagi Yukaim said, Do you know why I didn't choose a sneak attack? Instead, I wanted to kill you openly, because I have full confidence. Yagi Shinji smiled disdainfully and said, Confidence? What confidence do you have? In the face of a second-level Heavenly Ninja expert, what else can you do but tremble? Let me tell you, Qin Haodong is not dead. He is now my master, and he helped me improve my cultivation. What? You actually recognize a Huaxia person as your master? You are so shameless. Yagyu Shinji suddenly became angry. He looked at Yagi Yukaim and said angrily, How did your aura change? Have you lost your virginity? Yagi Yukaim said, Of course, as a servant, I have given the most precious thing to my master. Bitch, go to hell. I'll kill you now, and then I'll kill Qin Haodong. Yagyu Shinji had regarded Yagi Yukaim as his exclusive property all these years, but he didn't expect that his enemy, who had killed his son, would beat him to it. After that, he roared and waved the sword in his hand to cut down Yagi Yukaim. In his opinion, he had reached the second-level Heavenly Ninja realm. Yagi Yukaim, a first-level Heavenly Ninja, had absolutely no chance to fight back in front of him. Once she entered the Heavenly Ninja realm, the gap between each level was extremely huge. Even if she had the Dajijiri Yasutsuna, it would be useless. However, at the moment when Yagi Yukaim attacked, his expression changed and his eyes suddenly widened. A huge pressure covered the sky and covered the earth. It was 10 times stronger than his power. Under this kind of pressure, the sword light he had drawn all over the sky quickly disappeared, leaving only a lonely sword. The air seemed to have solidified, which made the speed of his sword quickly decrease. Then he felt a sharp pain in his wrist, and his arm holding the sword fell to the ground together with the sword. You are actually a third-level Heavenly Ninja realm. How is this possible? How is this possible? Yagyu Shinji couldn't believe everything in front of him. He had worked hard for most of his life and barely reached the second-level heavenly ninja realm. But the woman in front of him was just 20 years old. How could she become a third-level heavenly ninja realm? If she wasn't a third-level heavenly ninja realm, how could she cut off his arm with one strike? Yagi Yukaim held the sword upside down, letting the blood on the tip of the sword drip on the floor. She said with a cold expression, "All of this was given to me by my master. He wanted me to kill you to avenge myself." Yagyu Shinji couldn't understand how Qin Haodong had promoted Yagi Yukaim from the first-level heavenly ninja realm to the third-level heavenly ninja realm in such a short time. Was he an immortal? But at this time, he had no time to think about this. The sword just now had made him completely understand that he was now a piece of meat on the chopping board. He had no ability to resist Yagi Yukaim at all. He begged, "Yukaim, please let me go. Now I'm a useless person. Even if you let me go, I won't pose any threat to you. I will personally pass the position of the family master of the Yagyu family to you and give you all the property of the Yagyu family. Now that your son is dead, even if I kill you, who else can take the position of the family master of the Yagyu family except me? So, go to hell." As Yagi Yukaim spoke, the Jijijiri Yasutsuna in her hand flashed and directly pierced Yagyu Shinji's heart. Yagyu Shinji's eyes widened. Although his face was full of unwillingness, he could only stop breathing. Yagi Yukaim pulled out the Jijijiri Yasutsuna and fell to her knees. She muttered, "Father, mother, your daughter has avenged you. Thank you, master. From today on, Yukaim will never change her love for you." Then, the Yagyu family released two pieces of news in succession. The first one was that the family master, Yagyu Shinji, had died of a sudden heart disease. The second one was that Yagi Yukaim had taken over the position of the family master. After the news was released, it immediately caused a great shock around the Yagyu family. After Yagi Yukaim entered the ranks of heavenly ninjas, the Yagyu family had monopolized 2 heavenly ninjas, suppressing other families with the same strength. At this time, Yagyu Shinji's death made these families applaud. At the same time, they once again stared at the fat meat of the Yagyu family. The first to stand out was Hanaki Izumi. However, this time, he did not act rashly. Instead, he joined forces with the other 4 families to attack the Yagyu family, ready to swallow this fat meat together. Yagi Yukaim was wearing a white mourning dress, which made her look even more beautiful. She sat in front of the mourning hall, looked at the people in front of her, and said in a cold voice, "You guys, what do you mean by coming to the Yagyu family at this time?" Hanaki Inuichiro said with a smile, "Little girl, to tell you the truth, Yagyu Shinji died. We all agreed that there was no need for the Yagyu family to exist anymore. You don't have to live so hard as a woman. From today on, move to our Hanaki family and be my 7th wife. I promise you that you won't have to worry about food and drink for the rest of your life." After that, he laughed wildly, as if he had already seen the enchanting scene of Yagi Yukaim lying on his bed. Yagi Yukaim looked at the masters of the other 4 families and asked again, "Do you have the same idea?" Fujita Takashi, the master of the Fujita family, said, "We think so too, but we don't want people. We only want money. Just give each of us 1/5 of the Yagyu family's property." The masters of the other 3 families nodded one after another. In their opinion, the Yagyu family had no ability to resist at this time. Yagi Yukaim glanced at them and sneered, "What a big tone. Do you really think that there is no one in our Yagyu family?" Hanaki Inuichiro said with a smile, "Yukaim baby, don't resist. It's stupid to resist without strength." Before he finished speaking, he saw a cold light flash in Yagi Yukaim's hand. Then, with a clatter, an ear fell to the ground. Whose ear is this? As soon as Hanaki Inuichiro finished speaking, he felt a sharp pain in his ear. He immediately realized that it was his ear. Suddenly, he was scared out of his wits. It was not a big deal to lose an ear. The most important thing was that he just didn't see how Yagi Yukime did it. She had already cut off his ear. What kind of cultivation was this? Perhaps even a level 2 heavenly ninja was not so terrifying. You. He looked at Yagi Yukime in horror, but he couldn't even say a complete sentence. The masters of the other 4 families also changed their expressions. An expert could tell if he was powerful or not. They immediately realized that even if they went all out, they could not stop Yagi Yukime's terrifying knife. Yagi Yukime inserted the Dajijiri Yasutsuna into the floor in front of her. A huge knife chi quickly shrouded the 5 people, which made it very difficult for them to breathe. They didn't have the courage to use their knives at all. Is this a level 3 heavenly ninja? The 5 people seemed to think of something terrible. They were so scared that their faces turned as pale as paper. In Japan, the strong were always respected. When they realized that Yagi Yukime was already a level 3 heavenly ninja, the 5 people immediately lost the will to fight and knelt on the ground. Lord Yukime, we have offended your dignity. We will accept any punishment. Yagi Yukime said in a cold voice, I'll give each of you 2 choices. Either buy your life with $300 million or die. Chapter 440. Yagi Yukime knew the situation of the big families very well. $300 million could cut off a piece of meat from these families, but it was not enough to make them lose a lot of strength. Therefore, the masters of these families chose to pay for their lives. An hour later, the Yagyu family had $5 billion in their account, which was equivalent to 10 billion yuan. It had to be said that Yagi Yukime was very resourceful. As soon as she sat on the throne of the family master, she quickly eased the financial tension of the family. At the same time, she revealed her cultivation of level 3 heavenly ninja realm, so that other families would not dare to have any ideas about the Yagyu family. The opposition within the Yagyu family was also completely suppressed. In other words, although she had just become the head of the family, she had the entire Yagyu family firmly in her hands. After doing all this, Yagi Yukime dialed Qin Haodong's number. Qin Haodong had just walked out of Jiangnan Airport. When he saw Yagi Yukime's phone number, he pressed the answer button. Master, I've killed Yagi Shinji. Qin Haodong said, Oh, congratulations. You got your revenge. Thank you, Master. It's nothing. You don't have to thank me. Qin Haodong said, You can call me boss from now on. It sounds more comfortable. Yes, boss. Yagi Yukime would not object to any of Qin Haodong's orders. She added, I'm now the master of the Yagyu family and have complete control over it. I'll listen to you at any time. Okay, you stay in Neon for now. I'll call you if I need anything in the future. After Qin Haodong finished speaking, he hung up the phone. This was also good news for him. In any case, the Yagyu family was a great help to him. After they left the airport, Lin Momo hurried to Lin's group. This time, she had purchased a large number of raw stones from Myanmar, which had completely solved the raw material dilemma of Lin's group. It was enough for her to be busy for a while. Qin Haodong returned to the daddy security company and handed the little fellow to Nalan Wushuang. Then, he took out his mobile phone and dialed the number of the carving master, Su Haichuan. After a few polite words, he said, Master Su, please come to my place. I have something good to show you. Su Haichuan said, Dr. Qin, do you want me to carve something? Let me tell you, this old man has already closed the mountain. Why don't I send Xiaolong over now? His craftsmanship is not much worse than mine. Ever since Qin Haodong cured Su Xiaolong last time, Su Haichuan had handed over all his work to his son. All he did was raise flowers and feed the fish, living a leisurely life. Qin Haodong was very clear about Su Haichuan's craftsmanship. Although Su Xiaolong had inherited most of his skills, he was still a little inferior to the old man. His big jade was a treasure, so naturally, the old man had to do it himself. He said, Master Su, this is a good thing. As long as you come and take a look, I won't stop you even if you turn around and leave. Qin Haodong knew the temper of this kind of carving master very well. He would not be able to control himself when he saw the top-grade jade. At that time, it would be impossible for him to stop. All right, I'll go with Xiaolong now. Su Haichuan hung up the phone. The reason why he agreed to go was entirely for the sake of Qin Haodong. Deep down, he had no intention of fighting. In his opinion, he had been dealing with jade all his life and had seen all kinds of good things. At that time, he would casually take a look and then let his son do it. He went to the yard and called Su Xiaolong. They drove to Daddy's security company together. Qin Haodong knew that Su Haichuan would not be able to control himself from carving this jade, so he directly vacated a room in Daddy's security company as his future studio. The value of this jade was too high. If it was placed in Su Haichuan's home, once the news was leaked, it was likely to bring disaster to this family. Therefore, it was suitable to place it in Daddy's security company. There were not many places in the world safer than here. After a while, Su Haichuan and his son came in. After greeting, Su Haichuan said, "Dr. Qin, where is the thing you asked me to see? Did you find the king's green again?" After entering the door, he did not notice the expensive jade that had been placed in the room. In his impression, such a big thing could only be a stone, not a jade, so he did not pay much attention to it. "I don't have the king's green." Qin Haodong pointed to the expensive jade and said, "I showed you this treasure. Why do you want me to see this thing? I tell you, I am a jade carver, not a stone carving master." Su Haichuan said as he turned his head to look at the expensive jade. When he saw the window on the jade, he suddenly seemed to be frozen, standing there stupidly. Su Xiaolong was also surprised and opened his mouth wide. "My God, is this jade?" Both father and son walked to the expensive jade as if they had been enchanted. While touching the window, they exclaimed, "Such a big jade, such a good water type. My God, this is the king of jade." Qin Haodong did not speak. He just looked at Su Haichuan and his son with a smile. He thought it was a good name. It was neither domineering nor smooth to call the expensive jade. The name Jade King was better. After a long time, the father and son came to their senses. Su Haichuan said excitedly, "Dr. Qin, where did you get this jadeite king?" Qin Haodong said, "I went to Myanmar these days and picked up this treasure by chance. I wanted to ask Master Su to carve it, but unfortunately, you have retired, so I had to ask Xiaolong to do it." He turned to Su Xiaolong and said, "Xiaolong, it seems that you have to work hard." Su Xiaolong said excitedly, "Don't worry, Dr. Qin. I won't let you down." As an engraver, no one would be able to control their hands after seeing such a good piece of jade. One had to know that once this piece of jade was produced, it would definitely become a masterpiece that would be passed down through the ages. "Get out of here. How can you be worthy of the Jade King? What if you fail?" Su Haichuan pushed Su Xiaolong away and said flatteringly, "Dr. Qin, I'm just joking with you. How could I collect mountains? I just haven't found anything suitable. Give me this jadeite king, and I'll make it an immortal work that will cause a sensation in Huaxia." Qin Haodong saw the father and son fighting. Although he was amused, he put on a melancholy expression and said, "Master Su, you are not young. Can you carve such a big jade? Why don't you let Xiaolong do it? After all, he is young and energetic." "Nonsense. I can't do anything else, but I'm not convinced by anyone when it comes to carving." Su Haichuan was really anxious and said, "Well, Dr. Qin, as long as you give me the Jade King, I won't charge you a penny, as long as you let me carve it." As a carver who had been immersed in the jade industry for a lifetime, he was very eager to have a perfect masterpiece, so he was determined to get the Jade King in front of him. Seeing his father anxious, Su Xiaolong said, "Dad, why don't you let me help you?" Su Haichuan said, "No, I can do it myself." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Well, I'll leave this jadeite king to you. You can carve it however you want, as long as you can make the best use of it." As for your commission, I won't pay you a penny less. It doesn't matter if it's money or not. Su Haichuan stroked the Jade King excitedly, as if he was stroking the skin of his lover. We have a deal. You must give it to me. You can't go back on your word. Qin Haodong said, from today on, this room and this Jade King are yours. Just let me know when it's done. After that, he left the Jade King to the father and son of the Su family and walked out of the room. As soon as he walked out of the door, he saw Zhang Tiniu sitting in a corner of the training ground, stooping and smoking. Zhang Tiniu was originally a tall and strong man, but at this time, he looked sad and bleak. No one knew what he was thinking, and he didn't even notice Qin Haodong coming to him. Qin Haodong squatted down next to him and said, "What's wrong? Is there something worrying you?" "No, nothing." Zhang Tiniu stammered, but it was obvious that he didn't mean it. Qin Haodong raised his hand and punched him on the thick shoulder. "If you have something to say, just say it. Don't be so wishy-washy. People like you always tell lies on your face. Who can you fool?" Zhang Tiniu said awkwardly, "Boss, I do have something, but I'm embarrassed to tell you." Qin Haodong rolled his eyes at him and said, "If you have something to say, just say it. Don't pretend to be shy in front of me." His informal words made Zhang Tiniu feel very cordial. He smiled and said, "Well, boss, I want to get a few months' salary from the company in advance. It's not a big deal. Why are you so hesitant?" Qin Haodong said, "Is there something difficult at home?" Zhang Tiniu nodded and said, "Boss, you cured my illness and helped me so much. I was embarrassed to ask you again, but my wife just called and said that the house collapsed because of the heavy rain a few days ago. Now she is living with her children in a relative's house. She asked me to find a way as soon as possible. So I want to get a few months' salary in advance to build a house at home. The house in the countryside is easy to deal with. 30,000 or 50,000 yuan will be enough." Qin Haodong didn't rush to express his position. He said, "How heavy the rain was. How could the house collapse? Actually, the rain isn't that heavy. It's just that our house is too run down. All these years, my wife has spent almost all of the family's money to treat my illness. Everyone else has built a new house, but our family." Speaking of this, the man of steel, who would not frown even if he was stabbed by a knife, choked a little. "All these years, I've been a burden to my family, my wife and children. I'm sorry." Qin Haodong sighed secretly. This former soldier king, who had once made the enemy tremble with fear, had paid the best youth for the country. He didn't expect that in the end, he would end up so miserable. "Are there many people in our company in the same situation as you?" "Many." Zhang Tiniu said, "Among my comrades, some are better than me, and some are not as good as me. Although they have earned a lot of salary in our company recently, they owed more debts before." Qin Haodong's nostrils were a little sore. He patted him on the shoulder and said, "Call your sister-in-law and ask her to buy a ticket to Jiangnan City immediately and take the children with her. Don't build a house in the countryside anymore. Just settle down in the city." Zhang Tiniu quickly said, "That's not possible. The house in the city is so expensive that we can't afford it. If we rent a house, our children can't go to school. We'd better spend tens of thousands of yuan to build a new house in the countryside." Qin Haodong said, "If I say it's okay, it's okay. I'll call your sister-in-law now." Chapter 441. Seeing that Qin Haodong was serious, Zhang Tiniu took out his mobile phone and dialed his wife's number, asking her to take the child to Jiangnan City immediately. Qin Haodong said to him again, "Go and look for a house now. Choose a good one, a big one, with a good school district. Don't worry about the money. I'll discuss it with Wu Shuang now." Zhang Tiniu mumbled, "But I borrowed so much money. When can I pay it back? Did I borrow money from you? Did I ask you to pay it back?" Then he ignored Zhang Tiniu and turned to Nalan Wushuang's office. After entering the room, Nalan Wushuang was playing happily with the little fellow. When she saw Qin Haodong, she said, "What's the matter?" "Great Dr. Qin, you finally have time to talk to me?" She seemed to be joking, but in fact, she was quite resentful. Not only today, but also recently, Qin Haodong had spent little time with her. Qin Haodong smiled awkwardly and said, "I was just dealing with something. Now I'm finally done." The little fellow cried, "Daddy, did you bring me a gift?" Qin Haodong was speechless. He thought that the child had touched his sore spot. This time, they were fighting and dying in Burma. How could they have time to buy a gift? He pinched the little fellow's face and said with a smile, "You don't have to buy a gift. I'll just send you out." The little fellow laughed and said, "Okay. Okay. I'd like to stay with second mother." Nalan Wushuang also liked the little fellow very much. She said, "You said that you can't take her back after you give her to me." Qin Haodong couldn't make such a decision. If he really gave the little fellow to Nalan Wushuang, Lin Momo would fight with him. He quickly said, "I'm kidding. I'm kidding. How can my little princess be a gift?" Nalan Wushuang glanced at him charmingly and said, "I don't care. Anyway, you owe me a baby." Qin Haodong was suddenly dumbfounded. It seemed that it was not easy to pay off a debt of a child. He smiled embarrassedly and quickly changed the topic. He said, "Wushuang, there's something I want to discuss with you." "What is it?" "Say it." Nalan Wushuang agreed casually and stared at the little fellow in her arms as if she was looking at a treasure. She thought to herself that if she and Qin Haodong had a daughter, she would be so cute. Qin Haodong told him about his encounter with Zhang Tiniu and then said, "These people in our company have paid countless blood and sweat for the whole country and made great contributions to the whole nation, but now they are living a very hard life. What do you think about this? I want to buy a suite for everyone in our security company to solve their living difficulties and save them from living apart from their wives and children for a long time." Hearing Qin Haodong's words, Nalan Wushuang turned her head to look at him and said, "It's a good thing. I understand what you're saying, but don't you know how much it will cost? The company has just been established and the profit is not much. It can't afford such a big expense." Qin Haodong asked, "How many employees are there in our company?" Nalan Wushuang said, "Now there are a total of 200 people, 100 in Jiangnan and 100 in Shanghai. If you buy a house in Jiangnan, you can buy a good one for 2 or 3 million, but if you put it in the economically developed Shanghai, I'm afraid it will cost 7 or 8 million. Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, "It's not good to divide the houses evenly. How about this? 10 million per person and let them buy a suitable house by themselves, 10 million per person?" Nalan Wushuang said with her eyes wide open, "Have you ever calculated how much money it is?" Qin Haodong took out a bank card and said, "There are exactly 2 billion yuan in this card. I'll give it to everyone now." Nalan Wushuang said in surprise, "How do you have so much money? Did you go to Burma to find a rich woman this time?" "What rich woman? Do I look like a gigolo?" Nalan Wushuang nodded and said with certainty, "Yes." The little fellow cried, "Second mother, what is a gigolo?" Only then did they realize that the child was still next to them. Nalan Wushuang quickly explained, "A gigolo means a very white face." "Oh." The little fellow nodded as if she understood. She looked back at Qin Haodong and said, "Papa, then you are a gigolo." Qin Haodong was shocked. Even his own daughter said he was a gigolo. He obviously relied on his own ability to make a living. He said, "Yesterday I extorted a sum of money from the Lutheran Society in Burma. It was exactly 2 billion. This is all my assets. They are all here." After giving the card to Nalan Wushuang, he still sighed in his heart. It was true that he made money quickly, but he spent it even faster. He had made almost 3 billion in Burma and spent 4 billion in the blink of an eye. He even lost 1 billion yuan that the Yagyu family had paid. Now he had become a complete pauper again. However, This trip to Burma also made him deeply feel that these people of Daddy's security company were not afraid even in the face of thousands of troops and bullets. He had such rare subordinates, so he had to let them live a good life and solve their worries. Nalan Wushuang took the card, looked at him and said, "You are thinking about the company's employees. What about me?" Qin Haodong said, "You are the eldest daughter of the Nalan family. Don't you have a house?" Nalan Wushuang said with deep eyes, "I have several houses, but I am a timid person. I am afraid to live alone." "If you are afraid to live alone, then live with Wan, She is also alone." Qin Haodong said as he picked up the little fellow, "You go ahead. I will send Tang Tang back to Momo." After that, he ran out of the office without looking back. Looking at his back, Nalan Wushuang was lost in thought. Since the first time they met, this man had constantly surprised and moved her, creating one miracle after another. Now he gave all his property to his employees. This was definitely not a mind that ordinary people could have. It was a pity that the more outstanding a man was, the more women he liked. It seemed that there was a long way to go in the future. She shook her head and sighed again. Finally, she calmed down and began to busy herself. It was very troublesome to deal with so much money. She first transferred 1 billion yuan to Ma Wenjue, and then divided the 1 billion yuan in her hand into 100 parts. According to the information of the company's employees, she opened a bank card for each person and transferred 10 million yuan. When he distributed the money to the people of Daddy's security company, the big training ground was silent. Qin Haodong's big gift was beyond everyone's expectation. No one thought that the boss would give everyone 10 million yuan. Zhang Tiniu was included. He originally planned to borrow money, but he did not expect that in the blink of an eye, Qin Haodong would give 10 million yuan to each of his comrades. After getting the money, many people's eyes were wet. They were all steel-like soldiers. Even in the face of knives and fire, they were not afraid, but they could not help being moved from the bottom of their hearts. Once, they thought that they were doomed to be lonely, destined to be disabled, destined to be a burden to the country and society, but this young man completely cured them, took them to practice martial arts, and gave them a new life. They used to think that they were doomed to be poor all their lives, unable to buy a house in the city like others, unable to give their families a happy life like others, but this man helped them realize it. No one said anything, no expression, no heroic words, but they all had a common oath in their hearts. They were destined to follow Qin Haodong for the rest of their lives, even if they were to be smashed to pieces. Qin Haodong did not know this. He drove directly to Tang Men Company. After entering the door, Lin Momo said to him with a happy face, "Haodong, I have good news to tell you." The little fellow cried cheerfully, "What good news, Mama? Are you going to treat me and Papa to delicious food? You little foodie, you only know how to eat." Lin Momo held the little fellow in her arms, turned back and said to Qin Haodong, "Lin's group held a board meeting this morning. Everyone was very satisfied with the results of our trip to Myanmar. With everyone's consent, Grandpa decided to transfer 20% of the shares to you. How much would 20% of the shares of Lin's group cost?" Qin Haodong was quite surprised. He had just become a poor man, and now he suddenly got so much money. "Why, are you very happy that you don't speak?" No matter what Qin Haodong's reaction was, Lin Momo was really happy. The man she liked could be recognized by the whole family, which was the greatest achievement for her. Qin Haodong said, "It's okay. In fact, these shares are the same to me and to you. Just transfer them directly to your name." Lin Momo said, "How can it be the same? If you give me all the property, you will become a man who lives off a woman. It's good to live off a woman. Of course, living off a woman is better than living off a man." Qin Haodong said and couldn't help glancing at Lin Momo's chest. Lin Momo seemed to feel the intention of his eyes. She stared at him charmingly and said, "Be honest. I have something important to tell you." Qin Haodong spread out his hands and said innocently, I'm just standing here. How can I not be honest? Lin Momo put the little fellow on the ground and let her play by herself. Then she said, today's family board meeting discussed two major issues. One is to transfer your shares, and the other is how to develop Lin's group in the future. Qin Haodong said, what's the result? Lin Momo said, since the fall of Feng's group, Lin's group has basically occupied 90% of the jade jewelry market in Jiangnan City. Now we have sufficient raw materials, but there is not much room for expansion in Jiangnan City. If we want to further develop, we can only further strengthen and expand the market beyond Jiangnan City. That's a good thing. It shows that you have a good vision as a big president. Qin Haodong said casually. His eyes kept moving on Lin Momo's curvy body. It seemed that he was more interested in something than the matter in front of him. Lin Momo punched him in the chest and said, be honest. Don't let your imagination run wild. I'm talking to you. Qin Haodong said with a smile, what? Do you know what I'm thinking? Lin Momo glared at him again and said, you are a major shareholder of the company now. Where do you think is the best place for us to go next? Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, in the long run, there are two markets with great potential. One is the capital, and the other is Shanghai. Although the capital is good, it is the center of Huaxia. There are many aristocratic families there. The water is too deep. I'm afraid it is not easy for Lin's group to enter with its current strength. I think Shanghai is better. When we have enough strength, we can attack the capital. Alright, I'll be right there. Qin Haodong hung up the phone, said goodbye to Lin Momo, and then drove to Long Haisheng's villa. Walking through the gate, he found that there were people coming and going. They were much more nervous than usual, as if something was about to happen. After entering the door, he asked Long Haisheng, Big Brother Long, what happened? Seeing Qin Haodong coming, Long Haisheng hurriedly invited him to sit down and said, here's the thing, Brother Qin. 3 days ago, Li Ao of Jiangbei City sent me a letter of challenge. We agreed to hold a challenge tournament this afternoon to solve the grudge between us in the way of the underworld. When Long Haisheng mentioned signing the contract, he knew that after Li Hu's death, although Li Ao had not made any further moves, his ambition to take over Jiangnan City had not been eliminated. In the underworld, there were generally two ways to solve disputes between two parties. One was a large-scale frontal confrontation. However, now that the Huaxia government had higher and higher requirements for social security, this method did not work at all. The other way was to decide the winner through the challenge tournament. The two parties first set the conditions, and then solve the dispute in the arena. Li Ao chose this method and directly sent a letter of challenge to Long Haisheng. The conditions agreed by the two parties were that if Long Haisheng failed, he would directly hand over the control of the underground world of Jiangnan City and pay 5 billion yuan to Li Ao. If Long Haisheng won, Li Ao would do the same and hand over the control of the underground world of Jiangbei City and pay 5 billion yuan. Hearing this number, Qin Haodong's eyes lit up. It seemed that he had thought of a way to solve the financial problem. Long Haisheng continued, in this challenge tournament, the two parties agreed to win 2 out of 3 games. Whoever wins will control the underground world of Jiangnan City and Jiangbei City. Qin Haodong said, Big Brother Long, have you invited a master? Are you sure? Long Haisheng smiled helplessly and said, of course I have invited a master. However, the underworld is the underworld, and martial arts is martial arts. I didn't have much contact with martial arts people before, and I didn't know many masters. In this case, I could only invite Master Yi Kai of Rongwei Martial Arts Club and ask him to invite his senior brother, Master Lei Bao. Master Yi said that his senior brother has reached the half-step to the Supreme Power realm and will definitely win this game. However, I think since Li Ao made such a request, he must be prepared and must have invited a master, so I'm not sure. Qin Haodong was very clear about Yi Kai's cultivation. He was only at the 5th level of covert power. He could deal with ordinary masters, but he was obviously not good enough for this kind of challenge tournament. He said, "Big brother Long, what do you mean by asking me to come here?" Long Haisheng said, "Brother Qin, I don't know why, but I always feel that you are around. That's why I asked you to come here and help me. If Lei Bao is not a match for him, I'll have to trouble you." Through several contacts, he felt that as long as Qin Haodong helped, there was nothing that couldn't be done, so he had a sense of trust in his heart. Qin Haodong said, "I can help you, but I have a request." Qin Haodong said again, "Big brother Long, I don't care about the underground world, but I want 2 billion yuan of the bet." Long Haisheng said very heroically, "Brother Qin, there is no need to talk about money between us. As long as we win this game, you can take all the 5 billion yuan. Qin Haodong said, "I only need 2 billion yuan, and this 2 billion yuan is my bet. If I lose, I will also pay the same amount of money to you." Long Haisheng waved his hand and said, "No need. Money is just a worldly possession. You and I don't need to be so clear about it." While they were talking, the housekeeper came in from outside with a few people. The one walking in front was a strong man who was 2 meters tall. He looked quite tall and fierce. Behind him was Yi Kai, the owner of Rongwei Martial Arts Club, and his apprentices Zhou Wen and Zhou Wu. Long Haisheng quickly stood up to greet them. Yi Kai introduced, "Mr. Long, this is my senior brother Lei Bao. His 8 Extremes boxing has been cultivated to perfection. He has reached the half-step to the supreme power realm. With my senior brother here, you don't have to worry about today's game." Maybe it was because of the 8 Extremes boxing, or because Lei Bao was born with a hot temper. He said in a rough voice, "Don't worry, Mr. Long. Today's game will be given to us. We will definitely beat the *T out of those bastards." Yi Kai saw Qin Haodong sitting next to him. He hurried to greet him and said, "Mr. Qin, you are also here." Since the last incident, Yi Kai admired Qin Haodong's cultivation and medical skills very much, so he spoke very respectfully. After the greeting, he turned to Lei Bao and said, "Senior brother, this is Qin Haodong, the Mr. Qin I mentioned to you before. He has reached the half-step to the supreme power realm at such a young age. He will become a supreme power soon." But surprisingly, Lei Bao did not show any enthusiasm after he finished speaking. Instead, he shouted angrily, "Boy, is this my junior brother who you won the bet last time?" Yi Kai did not expect this reaction from his senior brother. He hurriedly said, "Senior brother, you can't blame Mr. Qin for the bet. I was too arrogant." Of course, Qin Haodong would not take this reckless man seriously. He picked up the teacup and took a sip leisurely. He looked up and said, "If I hadn't helped you last time, your junior brother would have been killed by Li Hu. You should thank me." Yi Kai followed and said, "Yes, senior brother. Although I lost the bet last time, Mr. Qin saved my life and healed my injury. After the last battle, my cultivation has improved again. Now I have reached the 6th level of covert power." Lei Bao was stunned at first, then he bowed to Qin Haodong and said, "Thank you for saving my junior brother." He stood up and said, "That's a different story. I have already thanked you for saving my junior brother. Now I want to see what you can do and whether you dare to fight with me. Senior brother, you can't do this." Yi Kai hurriedly stopped Lei Bao and then said to Qin Haodong apologetically, "Mr. Qin, please don't mind him. That's just my senior brother's temper." Qin Haodong did not dislike Lei Bao's straightforward temper. He smiled and said, "You can challenge me if you want, but you have to win the challenge tournament first. If you lose, you are not qualified to challenge me at all. They are just some drug dealers. How can they be my opponents?" Lei Bao shook his huge fist and said confidently, "Then you wait. After I finish the challenge tournament, I will challenge you. I hope you can stand in front of me." Qin Haodong smiled at Lei Bao. He had already seen through the big man's cultivation. This guy had a good aptitude and was especially suitable for practicing external martial arts. He had practiced Baji boxing to a very high level and was only a little bit away from being a supreme master. If there were no supreme masters on Li Ao's side, Lei Bao should be able to defeat Zhang Bei alone. At this time, Long Haixing said, "It's almost time. Let's go now." Qin Haodong nodded. They left Long Haixing's villa and rushed to the place where the arena would be set up. Jiangnan and Jiangbei were separated by a river. In order to ensure fairness, the venue of the competition was set up on a small island in the river. The island was not big, about 1 square kilometer. A tall arena had been built on one side of the island. One side of the arena faced the surging river, which looked magnificent. The other 2 sides had been set up. One side belonged to Long Haixing of Jiangnan, and the other to Li Ao of Jiangbei. In order not to attract the attention of the authorities, Long Haixing only brought a speedboat with about 20 people. Not long after they went ashore, another speedboat came from the direction of Jiangbei. Standing at the bow of the boat was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses and looked gentle. However, there was a hint of viciousness in his eyes from time to time. He was the underground boss of Jiangbei, Li Ao. Li Ao was similar to Long Haixing. He did not bring too many people, only about 20 men. Soon, both sides came to the arena, and the battle was about to begin. Chapter 443. Li Ao glanced at the people on Long Haixing's side. He didn't even stop at Qin Haodong for a second. But his expression changed a little when he saw Lei Bao. At the same time, Qin Haodong also looked at the people behind Li Ao. He had already seen through their cultivation with his remote sensing. Among these people, only a strong young man with a hemp rope in his hand seemed to be powerful. The cultivation of the others was generally not high, and some of them had not even reached the covert power. However, the strong young man was only at the 8th level of the covert power. If Li Ao sent these people to fight, there was no doubt that Long Haixing would win today's game. Li Ao came to Long Haixing and said sarcastically, "Long Haixing, I want to make a fortune with you, but you don't want to. You have to make this situation. If you lose today's game, there will be no one like you in the whole Jiangnan city." Long Haixing said lightly, "Chickens don't talk with ducks and fishes, and dragons don't live with snakes. I, Long Haixing, am destined not to associate with people like you." Li Ao didn't care about Long Haixing's sarcasm. He curled his lips and said, "We are all gangsters. Why do you pretend to be so dignified? Since you are so stupid, let's decide who owns Jiangnan and Jiangbei by fighting in the ring. I hope you won't regret it if you lose." Long Haixing said firmly, "I will not lose, nor will I regret it." "In that case, let's sign the bet. You brought the money, right?" After Li Ao said that, both sides checked the 5 billion cash checks brought by the other side and signed the bet. The bet and the checks were sealed in a box and placed in a corner of the ring. The box would belong to the winner later. When everything was ready, both sides returned to one side of the ring. Li Ao sent someone to fight first. It was the strong young man with the hemp rope in his hand. Long Haixing turned to look at Yi Kai and Lei Bao and asked, "Which one of us will fight first?" Yi Kai said, "Senior brother, I'll fight first." No one could see through his opponent's cultivation at a glance like Qin Haodong. He had been in a good state recently, and his cultivation had improved from the 5th level of covert power to the 6th level, so he was full of confidence in this game. Long Haixing asked worriedly, "Master Yi, are you sure?" Yi Kai said carelessly, "It's no big deal. He's just a little guy who practices Muay Thai. I can definitely handle him." After saying that, he stood up and leaped into the air, like an eagle spreading its wings, and flew into the arena. Seeing Yi Kai's kung fu, Long Haixing felt a little relieved. He wouldn't be defeated like last time. After they got on the stage, both of them stood in position. The fierce young man glanced at Yi Kai fiercely, raised his fists wrapped in hemp rope and made a fist salute gesture. Then he said in stiff Wuxia language, "I'm going to attack." After saying that, he bent over and leaped about 2 meters into the air like a spring. From top to bottom, he punched at Ye Kai's face. Ye Kai's expression changed slightly. An expert could tell at a glance whether he was good or not. He had already seen that this fierce young man was extraordinary, so he hurriedly punched at the fierce young man. After a muffled sound, Ye Kai felt a sharp pain in his fist, and then his body took 6 or 7 steps back. Whether in terms of strength or the hardness of his fist, he was much weaker than this sturdy young man, and he had suffered a loss in just one move. Qin Haodong secretly shook his head. At first glance, he knew that this fierce young man was a master of Muay Thai. This kind of boxer kept hammering stones with ropes since the beginning of their practice. They broke their bones over and over again, and then healed them over and over again. Finally, they developed a pair of iron fists. In this case, Ye Kai was still reckless enough to fight with his opponent. He was bound to suffer a loss. If he fully exerted the subtlety of his moves and the agility of his body, he could still fight with this man for a while. Now it seems that he will lose. Sure enough, the fierce man did not stop after his successful punch. He did not give Ye Kai any chance to breathe, and then he hit him in the chest with his knee. Ye Kai used a move to push the boat away and barely pushed away the knee strike in front of his chest. The sturdy young man's elbow smashed down from the top of his head. Ye Kai's cultivation was much lower than his opponent's, and he had lost the upper hand, which put Ye Kai in a completely passive situation. Ye Kai used all his strength to block the elbow strike with both of his hands. He barely managed to parry the sturdy youth's elbow strike, but he felt that the opponent's move carried a huge force of 1,000 pounds, shaking his arms to the point that he almost lost all feeling. His heart sank, and he knew that he was in trouble. Today, he met a real Muay Thai master. At this time, he had completely lost the upper hand, and could only barely hold on, hoping that the opponent would show a flaw, so that he could find a chance to fight back. However, Ye Kai was obviously a master of fighting, so he would not give him any openings. After 2 consecutive strong attacks, Ye Kai could no longer hold on and was punched in the chest by his opponent. His whole body flew out of the ring like a kite with a broken string, and he began to vomit blood in midair. Qin Haodong was already prepared. He moved forward and caught Ye Kai, so that he would not fall to the ground and get hurt again. Lei Bao strode over and asked, "Mr. Qin, how is my younger brother?" At the same time, he saw that the clothes on Ye Kai's chest had been completely torn, and the right chest had collapsed by about an inch, forming a clear fist mark. The surrounding people couldn't help but feel their scalps go numb. This sturdy young man's punch was too ruthless. It actually forcefully cracked the sternum. Fortunately, it was the right chest that was hit. If it was the left chest, perhaps the heart would have burst on the spot. Qin Haodong took out a black pill and put it into Ye Kai's mouth. Then he said, "The injury is very serious, and you need to rest for a while." This time, Ye Kai's injury was much more serious than last time. His internal organs were shaken out of place. If Qin Haodong had not been there in time to treat him, he would have been killed by this punch. At this time, Li Ao had already walked to the ring, and said proudly, "Long Haisheng, how about it? Are you afraid of losing a game? Are you nervous? If you lose another game, you will have to leave Jiangnan City in the future." Long Haisheng said with a livid face, "Li Ao, 2 wins out of 3. Don't be so happy. I tell you, Long Haisheng, I will win today's bet." Li Ao said proudly, "This young master is Ban Cha, the Muay Thai king that I specially invited from Thailand. People give him the nickname Iron Fist Arhat. Even if your men were to fight together, they would not be able to defeat him. Since you don't care about the lives of your men, let's continue." Then he laughed wildly, turned around and walked out of the ring. "Bastard, I'm going to avenge my younger brother." Lei Bao roared and strode to the ring. This, Long Haisheng looked at Qin Haodong nervously. Today's match was 2 wins out of 3. If he lost this game, he would completely bow to Li Ao. In his heart, he had originally wanted Qin Haodong to fight this game. Although they had not competed, in his opinion, Qin Haodong was much more reliable than Lei Bao. "Don't worry, he won't lose," Qin Haodong said to Long Haisheng. Then he took out the silver needles and began to treat Yi Kai. After all, Lei Bao was a master half a step to the supreme power realm. Although Ban Sha, the king of Muay Thai, was fierce, he was still at a lower level. Moreover, Lei Bao seemed rude, but he had reached the realm of the supreme power realm in his 30s, which showed his aptitude in martial arts. Hearing Qin Haodong's words, Long Haisheng calmed down a lot. He sat back in the chair and looked at the ring. In the ring, Lei Bao and Ban Sha stood face to face. One was almost 2 meters tall, and the other was only 1.6 meters tall. It seemed that there was a huge difference in height. However, Ban Sha didn't care about that. Over the years, he had beaten up many giants in Europe and America. Because of that, in his opinion, Lei Bao was just a little taller, but he didn't take him seriously. "Boy, do you want to take a break?" Lei Bao asked. Although he was angry and eager for revenge, he didn't want to win with an unfair advantage. Ban Sha said arrogantly, "No need. I can't even warm up enough to deal with such a Huaxia man. Boy, you're courting death." Lei Bao said and smashed the 5 mountains skyward hammer of 8 extremes boxing at Ban Sha's head. A trace of disdain flashed across Ban Sha's face. What a waste. How could he be so easily provoked? Ban Sha had been practicing Muay Thai since he was a child. His punching skills were extremely strong, so he was not afraid of fighting head-on with his opponent. Lei Bao was tall and had long arms, so it would be difficult for him to avoid him. That was why he deliberately provoked Lei Bao and wanted to beat him up with one punch. However, he didn't know that 8 extremes boxing was also about fighting head-on, which was even stronger than Muay Thai. Ban Sha thought his little trick had worked, so he punched at Lei Bao's fist with his right hand. His code name was Iron-Armed Arhat, and his kung fu was mainly focused on his fists. He could smash stone pillars and bend steel with one punch. Therefore, in his opinion, this punch could definitely smash Lei Bao's fist and directly destroy him. With a muffled bang, the two fists collided with each other. The sound of bones cracking that Ban Sha had expected did not come. On the contrary, a strong force hit him, making him feel like a small leaf swept by a strong wind. He flew out involuntarily and his strong body hit the guardrail next to the boxing ring with a bang, so he was not punched out of the ring. Lei Bao's tall body just shook a little, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Just as Qin Haodong had guessed, he looked rough, but he had amazing talent in martial arts. Ban Sha was scheming against him, and he was also scheming against Ban Sha. After gaining the upper hand with one move, he did not stop. His tall body did not look clumsy at all, and he came to Ban Sha in an instant. A mountain-splitting palm of 8 extremes boxing fiercely smashed at Ban Sha's head from top to bottom. At this time, Ban Sha had already realized that he had met his opponent, who was much stronger than he had imagined. He moved his feet and dodged to the side. However, Muay Thai had always been fierce and swift, and seized the initiative through fierce attacks. Once he changed to dodge, it would be difficult for him to turn the situation around. In addition, Lei Bao's 8 extremes boxing was extremely fierce. He was tall and had long arms, so he almost controlled half of the boxing ring. Ban Sha kept stepping back, unable to dodge. Knowing that he would definitely lose if this went on, Ban Sha gritted his teeth and used his unique skill, one of the fiercest moves in Muay Thai, double flying kick. Using the counterforce of the guardrail of the boxing ring, he flew into the air and kicked at Lei Bao's head with his left leg. This move could be fake or real. Generally speaking, his opponent would dodge, and then his hind leg would become a fatal move. However, Lei Bao was obviously not an ordinary person. He did not dodge, but pushed his left elbow slightly, and his tall body cut in. He shouted, 8 extremes boxing, mountain lean. Chapter 444. There was a popular saying in Huaxia, Tai Chi can bring peace to the world, while Baji can bring peace to the world. This showed the power of Baji boxing. The mountain lean that Lei Bao had just used was the most powerful move of Bajiquan. In his usual practice, this move was enough to break a tree. Ban Sha was completely defeated. Although he was very tough and strong, the mountain lean had completely collapsed his sternum. Blood spurted out of his mouth like a fountain. His whole body was like a sandbag that was thrown out, flying out of the boxing ring in an arc, and fell on the ground covered with rocks with a plop. The Thai boxing king who had dominated the boxing circle in Thailand for many years, the iron-armed Arhat who had made countless people tremble with fear, was defeated on a small island in Huaxia. Li Ao's expression changed. He immediately sent his men to rescue Ban Sha, but Ban Sha was already dead. Seeing that Lei Bao had finally won, Long Haisheng breathed a sigh of relief. Now that Jiang Nan and Jiang Bei had won a round each, they were back to square one. He stood up and shouted to Li Ao, "There's one more round. Let's decide the winner in one round." After defeating Ban Sha, Lei Bao's momentum was even stronger. He stood on the boxing ring and shouted, "Who else dares to come up?" Li Ao looked at Lei Bao and then at Long Haisheng. He sneered and said, "I didn't expect you to have a trump card. But it's useless. You're like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. The reason why I dare to propose the challenge tournament is that I have my own trump card. Just wait for death." Lei Bao shouted, "Cut the crap. If you want to compete, let your men come up." He had checked the people around Li Ao. None of them could even compare with Ban Sha, let alone him. So he was full of confidence. "I hope you still have the courage later." Li Ao smiled coldly. Then he turned to the calm lake and shouted, "Long, please." As soon as he said that, his 20 men also shouted, "Long, please." For a moment, their voices echoed on the river, sounding a little imposing. Long Haisheng and Lei Bao were very surprised. There was not even a boat on the river. Who were they calling? Qin Haodong glanced at the river and a smile appeared on his face. He didn't expect that Li Ao would really invite a master. At that moment, a silhouette suddenly appeared on the surface of the river in the distance. This person stepped on the waves as if he was riding on a dragon. His speed was frighteningly fast. At this time, the sun was setting in the west, and a ray of sunlight just happened to cover the surface of the lake, illuminating the figure of this person, making him look even taller. He was like a god rushing toward the small island. Seeing this momentum, Li Ao became more and more complacent. He turned back and shouted to Long Haisheng, "Master Long is here. Just wait for your death." Qin Haodong found it funny. Little tricks like walking on the waves were nothing in the eyes of a guru. If he wanted to, he could even lie on the river and sleep. Moreover, it could be seen that although this person had entered the threshold of the Supreme Power Realm, it was obvious that he had just broken through to the first level of the Supreme Power Realm. His strength was still at the bottom of the Supreme Power Realm. Was it really good to be so pretentious just after breaking through? However, among so many people present, he was the only one who could be so calm. Long Haisheng's expression changed greatly. Although he didn't know martial arts, this kind of magic skill of walking on the waves was definitely not something that ordinary people could do. It could be seen that the person Li Ao invited was definitely a master among masters. Lei Bao's face was livid. He knew very well what the person in front of him represented. Walking on the waves meant that he could control the qi of heaven and earth for his own use. That was the unique ability of the Supreme Power Realm. That was to say, this person in front of him was a supreme power. He originally thought that with his cultivation of half-step to the Supreme Power Realm, he could defeat today's challenge tournament. He didn't expect that the opponent had invited a real supreme power. Although there was only a little difference between half-step to the Supreme Power Realm and the Supreme Power Realm, in fact, there was a huge difference. Although he had always been arrogant, he didn't have the confidence to defeat a supreme power. What should I do? Should I admit defeat? First of all, as a warrior, it was very shameful to surrender without a fight. He couldn't let go of his pride. In addition, he was very clear about the importance of this battle. Once he admitted defeat, it meant that Long Haisheng had lost the entire underground world of Jiangnan City and a huge bet of 5 billion yuan. No, even if he died, he had to fight to the death. He couldn't be scared to death by others. Thinking of this, Lei Bao was ready to fight to the death. Suddenly, a voice rang in his ear. You are no match for him. Lei Bao looked back and found it was Qin Haodong who spoke. I don't care about life and death. Even if the opponent is a supreme power, so what? I'd rather be killed than scared to death. Good. Good job. Although Lei Bao had offended him, Qin Haodong still had a good impression of this straightforward big man. Especially now, he knew that he was no match for Long Haisheng, but he still wanted to fight to the death for Long Haisheng. It could be seen that this person had both the dignity of a warrior and the spirit of brotherhood. It was really rare. Originally, he wanted to help Long Haisheng win the battle himself. But he felt that it was really a bit of a bully to fight a guy who had just crossed the threshold of the supreme power realm with his cultivation. So he changed his mind and decided to help Lei Bao and let him fight. Do you want to win? Qin Haodong asked. Nonsense, of course I want to win. Come with me if you want to win. Then Qin Haodong took Lei Bao's arm and walked off the stage. Lei Bao didn't know what he was going to do. He wanted to shake off his arm, but he was surprised to find that even if he tried his best, he couldn't shake off Qin Haodong's hand. Qin Haodong's power was like a vast sea, while his genuine qi was like a drop of water, unable to set off any waves at all. A master. A supreme power master. Only then did Lei Bao realize how terrible the young man in front of him was. His cultivation was nothing in front of Qin Haodong. It was ridiculous that he had challenged Qin Haodong just now. Qin Haodong ignored Lei Bao's thoughts. He directly took him off the stage and said, sit cross-legged. After knowing that this was a supreme power master, Lei Bao immediately became extremely respectful. Hearing Qin Haodong's order, he directly sat cross-legged in front of Qin Haodong without any doubt. Calm your heart and guard your dantian. I'll help you break through the supreme power realm now. After saying that, Qin Haodong took out the needle bag and pierced a needle into the Baihui acupoint on the top of his head. In terms of aptitude, Lei Bao was much stronger than the old man Guchuanxiu. Otherwise, he wouldn't have reached the half-step supreme power realm at such a young age. In terms of realm, Lei Bao was also much stronger than Guchuanxiu. He was only a little bit away from the bottleneck of the supreme power realm. With a little help from Qin Haodong, he could break through. That was why Qin Haodong chose this time to help Lei Bao break through the supreme power realm. Hearing that Qin Haodong was going to help him break through, Lei Bao's heart suddenly twitched, and then he became excited. He had been stuck in the bottleneck of the half-step supreme power realm for almost 5 years. Although he felt that he was only a little bit away from that step, he still couldn't cross it. Becoming a supreme power was every warrior's dream. Could this young man really help him break through? Just as he was thinking about it, a thunderous voice rang in his ears. Are you going to be possessed by the devil? Only then did Lei Bao realize that he was on the verge of danger. At this moment, he had to be calm, or he might be possessed by the devil at any time. He quickly gathered his mind and calmed himself down, so that he could enter the realm of no distractions. At the same time, the supreme power who came on the waves had already jumped onto the island. He didn't look too old, only in his 30s. Li Ao greeted him with a flattering face. He bowed again and said, "Welcome, Master Long." The man just nodded slightly, put his hands behind his back, and walked onto the ring step by step. Li Ao followed him step by step. At this time, his face was full of pride. He turned his eyes to Lei Bao, who had been pierced by dozens of silver needles. Li Ao cried, "Long Haisheng, Master Long is here. Are you going to fight or not?" If you're afraid, just give up. Qin Haodong said, don't worry, just wait for 10 minutes. Lei Bao will fight with you in 10 minutes. Li Long looked at Lei Bao and seemed to think of something. He asked in surprise, are you helping him break through? Chapter 445. Qin Haodong said, yes, his cultivation has reached the bottleneck of the supreme power realm. If he doesn't break through, he won't be your opponent at all, so I helped him. You helped him break through the bottleneck of the supreme power realm? Li Long suddenly laughed as if he had heard the funniest joke. How was it possible to help a master at the half-step supreme power realm break through the bottleneck of the supreme power realm? This kind of mysterious ability might only exist in legends. Even his master couldn't do it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been stuck in the bottleneck of the supreme power realm for 4 years. Qin Haodong didn't care about Li Long's ridicule. It was normal that he didn't believe it. Looking at the whole earth, perhaps only he, the reborn Emperor Greenwood, could do this. After laughing enough, Li Long said, well, I'll wait for you for 10 minutes. Let's see what you have to say after 10 minutes. As time went by, everyone's eyes were focused on Lei Bao, who looked extremely calm. Except that his body was full of silver needles, there was no other change. Li Ao looked at his watch and said, Long Haisheng, if you can't do it, you can't do it. 10 minutes will be up soon. Let's see what you have to say. As soon as he finished speaking, the silver needles in Lei Bao's body jumped up one after another. The surrounding qi of heaven and earth quickly gathered towards him and flowed into his body like rivers flowing into the sea. Then, his entire aura rose like a rocket. The supreme power realm. In just 10 minutes, Lei Bao had a miraculous breakthrough. With this majestic aura, Lei Bao stood up. His entire body seemed to have grown a lot taller, as if he was a god of thunder that could support the heaven and earth. He knelt down in front of Qin Haodong and said, Master, please accept my bow. Although Qin Haodong didn't have traditional martial arts, the merit of helping him break through the bottleneck of the supreme power realm was enough to be his teacher, so he knelt down and saluted. Get up. I just thought you were a good person, so I helped you casually. I didn't intend to accept you as an apprentice. Qin Haodong waved his hand and dragged Lei Bao up from the ground. Whether you accept me or not, you are my master in my heart. Lei Bao said so and did so. In the future, Qin Haodong would be no different from his master in his heart. How is this possible? Seeing the scene in front of him, Li Long almost bit his tongue. When did the bottleneck of the supreme power realm become so easy? If that was the case, then he wouldn't have had to painstakingly break through for 4 years. No, it's fake. It must be fake. At this point, he was sure that the two people in front of him were putting on an act. They wanted to scare him off with this kind of trick. How could anyone casually help others break through the supreme power realm bottleneck? He glanced at Qin Haodong with disdain and sneered, Boy, you can fool others with this trick, but you can't fool me. Qin Haodong said lightly, whether it's true or not, we'll know after we try. He turned to look at Lei Bao, do you dare to fight him? At this moment, although Lei Bao had already restrained his aura, he was still very domineering as he said, Don't worry, teacher, I will definitely break this guy's bones. After he finished speaking, he strode towards the arena with a terrifying momentum. Every step he took seemed to shake the entire island. Li Long didn't think so. In his opinion, all this was an illusion made by these two people. Boy, wait for me to kill this big guy, and then I'll kill you to avenge my brother. After that, he turned to look at Lei Bao. How dare you disrespect my master? Go to hell. Lei Bao let out a thunderous roar and used the mountain-splitting palm. His big hand, which was like a cattail leaf fan, came down from above and slapped Li Long's head. How dare you pretend to be with me? I'll see how long you can pretend. Li Long gathered his aura and suddenly punched at Lei Bao's big hand. He had thought that everything Lei Bao had shown was fake. No one could break through the bottleneck of the supreme power realm within 10 minutes, and Lei Bao couldn't be his opponent. But when the fist and the palm collided, his expression suddenly changed. He felt that the huge genuine chi was rushing towards him like a landslide and a tsunami. They were both at the early stage of the supreme power realm, but the strength of the opponent was not something he could match at all. The opponent is really a supreme power realm. As soon as this idea popped up in his mind, his whole body had been slapped away by Lei Bao. Everyone was stunned. Just now, when Li Long rode the waves, his momentum was so strong, and he was so pretentious. He was like a god descending to the mortal world, but in the blink of an eye, he was beaten like a grandson by Lei Bao. The difference was too big. Even Lei Bao couldn't believe that his palm had such great power. Both of them were at the early stage of the supreme power realm, so there should not be such a big gap. Only Qin Haodong had a playful smile. Normally, Lei Bao, who had just broken through, should be a little weaker than Li Long, but he had left a lot of greenwood genuine qi in Lei Bao's body. The genuine qi of a practitioner in the elixir realm was extremely pure. Although it could not be kept in Lei Bao's body for a long time, it was enough to give him an absolute advantage in a short time. After all, Li Long was also a master at the supreme power realm. Although he was defeated, he did not panic. He tiptoed on the guardrail of the boxing ring and stabilized his body again. While running his genuine qi to soothe his numb arms and red and swollen fists, he was shocked in his heart. He had thought that after he broke through to the supreme power realm, he would be able to sweep the whole country when he returned to Huaxia. At least, he would have no opponent among the younger generation. Now it seemed that this idea was too naive. This big man's cultivation was one level higher than his, and Qin Haodong was even more unfathomable. It seemed that if he wanted to avenge his brother Li Hu, he could only ask his master for help. While he was thinking, Lei Bao did not stop. He swayed his giant body and rushed toward him. Since Li Long wanted to take revenge on Qin Haodong, he was his enemy. His attitude toward his enemies had always been simple and rough. He would kill them directly. So he launched an attack on Li Long again, without mercy. Naturally, Li Long was unwilling to admit defeat. After letting out a roar, the blue veins on his whole body bulged. His skin instantly became as black as iron, and his whole body seemed to swell. In a hurry, he used the secret method of his sect and instantly improved his cultivation. Although this secret method would have certain sequelae, he couldn't care so much at this time. Qin Haodong's expression changed slightly. This guy really had a trump card that he hadn't taken out yet. Fortunately, he had left greenwood genuine qi in Lei Bao's body before, otherwise Lei Bao would be no match for him. Go to hell. After improving his cultivation, Li Long punched at Lei Bao. His punch seemed to be very powerful, as if it could move mountains and fill the sea. Its momentum was amazing. Good timing. 8 Extremes boxing was about fighting head-on. Naturally, Lei Bao would not dodge. After a roar, his huge fist fiercely hit Li Long's fist. When the two fists collided, there was a cracking sound. Although Li Long used the secret method of his sect, the result was even more tragic than before. His whole body flew out like a scarecrow, and his arm was bent very strangely. It was broken by Lei Bao's punch. However, Lei Bao didn't mean to stop at all. He took 2 steps forward in succession, and at the moment when Li Long's body landed, his huge foot stepped down hard. Li Long let out a howl of grief and indignation. His uninjured left hand supported his chest, trying to block Lei Bao's foot. However, a small arm was no match for a large leg. This saying wasn't just for show. His palm was too weak in front of Lei Bao's large foot. It only managed to block for less than a second before it was broken into 2 with a crack. Soon after, Lei Bao's foot landed on his chest, and with a series of bone-breaking sounds, his sternum caved in, and his entire body stepped into the ring. Li Long spat out mouthfuls of blood, together with the shattered pieces of internal organs. It seemed that he would not survive. He was one of the 5 generals of the Qin gang. Just now, he came here on the waves in a very coquettish manner. He had wanted to take revenge on Qin Haodong. Unexpectedly, he was trampled to death in the blink of an eye. Life changed so fast. In fact, he was not even qualified for Qin Haodong to fight. Just 10 minutes of advice to Lei Bao defeated him and finally lost his life. The whole audience was silent. Li Ao was completely dumbfounded. Originally, Li Long was like a celestial in his eyes, but he was trampled to death just a few minutes after he appeared. He never dreamed that he could lose the challenge tournament. After a short silence, Long Haisheng's side suddenly cheered. 2 out of 3, they had already won the challenge tournament. He took 2 steps forward and said to Li Ao, "What else do you want to say?" You. Li Ao's expression changed a few times. He suddenly took a pistol from his waist and raised his hand to shoot at Long Haisheng. But as soon as he raised the gun, before he could pull the trigger, there was a bloody hole between his eyebrows. It was Qin Haodong who shot him. He knew that a heartless person like Li Ao would not admit defeat. On the contrary, he would bite back, so he had been paying attention to Li Ao's movements. When Li Ao pulled out the gun, he directly killed him with a small stone. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. After Li Ao's death, his men immediately lost the courage to resist and jumped into the boat to escape. They ran away. Qin Haodong and Long Haisheng didn't care about these small fish and shrimps. The challenge tournament was over, and Li Ao was dead. The matter was completely over. What was left was the reward. Long Haisheng took out a cash check from his pocket and handed it to Lei Bao. He said, "Master, thank you for your help today. This is the 100 million yuan we agreed on before." Lei Bao waved his hand and said, "Mr. Long, I don't dare to take the money. Although I won today, it's not my credit. If Senior Qin hadn't helped me improve my cultivation, would have died on the stage now." After that, he turned to Qin Haodong and knelt on the ground again. "Senior Qin, thank you for helping me break through the bottleneck of many years. From today on, you are my new parent." Although he had a temper, he was still very clear-headed. He knew that if it wasn't for Qin Haodong's help, he would not only not be able to break through the bottleneck of the supreme power realm, but even lose his life. Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, "Get up. This is also the fate between you and me." Lei Bao said, "Senior, I opened a Thunder Martial Club in Shanghai. If you have time to go to Shanghai, you must come to my place and let me do my best as a host." Qin Haodong nodded and said, "Okay, if fate allows, we will meet again." Long Haisheng went to the ring and took the box. He took out the 5 billion cash check from it and gave it to Qin Haodong together with the 100 million cash check in his hand. "Brother Qin, thanks to you today. You deserve this money. Take it." Chapter 446. Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "Brother Long, it's our duty to help each other. I can't take all the money. I only need 2 billion yuan." Before he came, he had told Long Haisheng that the 2 billion yuan was his own bet. If he lost, he would pay Long Haisheng, so it was part of what he deserved. Seeing his firm attitude, Long Haisheng reluctantly said, "Well, I'll ask someone to transfer 2 billion yuan to your account now. Leave the rest of the money with me. Let me know when you need money, and I'll ask someone to transfer it to you right away." Things ended satisfactorily. Lei Bao and Yi Kai left with Zhou Wen and Zhou Wu. Long Haisheng had taken over the underground world of Jiangbei, so he would be busy in a short time. Qin Haodong returned to the Lin's villa alone. When he got home, the little fellow was still awake. Seeing Qin Haodong, she immediately threw herself into his arms and said, "Papa, where did you go? Why don't you play with me at home?" Qin Haodong said, "Papa went to make money." The little fellow said, "How much did Papa make?" "Papa made a lot of money." Qin Haodong said, took out a bank card from his pocket, handed it to Lin Momo and said, "There are 2 billion in it. Take it. It's enough to move Tangmen Company to Shanghai." Lin Momo took the card and asked in astonishment, "Really? You're not joking with me, right?" Of course it's true. How can I lie to you about this kind of thing? How is it possible? Where did you find 2 billion yuan? Lin Momo glanced at his waist. You didn't sell both kidneys, did you? Qin Haodong said with a wry smile, even if it's a gold kidney, it can't be sold for so much money. Then how did you get the money? Even robbing a bank can't be so fast. The money is reasonable and legal. I earned it. Qin Haodong told him what had happened that night. Lin Momo kissed him on the face and said, Honey, you're great. You can earn 2 billion yuan so quickly. It seems that we don't have to worry about the rest of our lives. Although the little fellow didn't quite understand what was going on, she also rushed over and kissed Qin Haodong on the other cheek. Papa, you're great. Of course, Dad is the best. Qin Haodong kissed her little face and then said to Lin Momo, with this money, can we move to Shanghai soon? Lin Momo said, it's not that easy. Do you think it's a peddler moving? We are a big group. Lin's group and Tangmen Company together need to make a lot of preparations in advance. Qin Haodong said, will we completely move to Shanghai then? Lin Momo said, of course, he won't be back in a short time. What about Tang Tang? Lin Momo said, of course she'll come with us. We'll find a new kindergarten over there. Our family of 3 can't be separated. The little fellow cried happily, great, I'm going to the new kindergarten. I'm going to meet new kids. The next day, Qin Haodong came to Daddy's security company. He originally wanted to go to Su Haichuan's studio to have a look, but the old man locked the door and no one was allowed to enter, including Qin Haodong. He said that he could only see it after the sculpture was completely finished. He turned around and went to Nailan Wushuang's office. He saw that she was chatting with Qi Wan, intimately. What are you talking about? Why are you so happy? Qin Haodong said as he walked in. Qi Wan said, I'm talking about you. Nailan Wushuang said with a smile, speak of the devil. I just mentioned you, and you're here. Qin Haodong said with a smile, why did you mention me? Is there anything good? Nailan Wushuang looked at him and said, our security company has a big deal. Do you want to do it? Qin Haodong said, of course. Wouldn't I be a fool if I didn't make money? Nailan Wushuang smiled slyly and said, since you've agreed, then it's settled. As the company's super bodyguard, I'll send you to perform a task. What? Send me to perform a task? Qin Haodong felt that he had fallen into a trap. He quickly said, didn't you say that the company has a big deal? What does it have to do with me? Nailan Wushuang said, what's wrong? Aren't you a member of the company? When we divided the levels of the company's bodyguards, you were a super bodyguard. Now there's a business. Are you going to refuse? Qi Wan followed and said, yes, you just said that I would be a fool if I didn't make money. Qin Haodong remembered that he was also one of the company's bodyguards. At that time, the price was set at 1 million yuan a day. He said, what the hell is going on? Can you explain it to me? Nailan Wushuang said, here's the thing. The Li Group of Hong Kong wants to hire you to be the bodyguard of Miss Li Meiyu, the only heir of the family. It's not determined how long you'll be hired. But they paid a deposit of 100 million yuan. It's estimated that it will be a long time. That's why it's a big deal. Qin Haodong was a little confused. 1 million yuan a day, and they paid a deposit of 100 million yuan. This Li Group is really rich. Qi Wan said, don't you even know about the Li Group? It's one of the top 10 consortiums in Hong Kong. In order to protect the only heir of the family, it's normal to spend 1 billion yuan, let alone 100 million yuan. Qin Haodong said with some embarrassment, but I'm a doctor after all. I can't be a bodyguard for a long time. Can't you let Zhang Tiniu and Chen Fugui go? Ma Wenjue can also do it. Nailan Wushuang said, do you think the Li Group's money is spent in vain? There are conditions for finding a bodyguard. Li Meiyu is very opposed to the family hiring bodyguards for her, so the bodyguard must hide his identity. Li Meiyu is going to the medical college in Shanghai soon, so you have to protect her as a student. From this point of view, Zhang Tiniu and Chen Fugui are not qualified. Only you can do it in our daddy security company. Qin Haodong said, Ma Wenjue can also do it. Although he is not as handsome as me, he can disguise as a college student. Nailan Wushuang said, Li Meiyu is going to the medical college in Shanghai. Ma Wenjue has neither culture or knowledge of traditional Chinese medicine. He has never passed from primary school to middle school. Even the love letters for girls are written by you. If you let him go to college, won't he be exposed in a few days? Qin Haodong really had nothing to say for a moment. The employees of the daddy security company were all iron warriors. It was definitely not feasible to let them go to college. It seemed that only he was suitable. Qi Wan said, you have to agree to this matter whether you agree or not. Don't be hesitant anymore. Qin Haodong said grumpily, what? Did I sell it to them? Nailan Wushuang said, no, but I have signed a contract with them and received a deposit of 100 million yuan. If I breach the contract, I have to pay 100 times the compensation. If you can take out 10 billion yuan, you don't have to go. Qin Haodong almost vomited blood. Now he could only say, I'll go. That's right. Nailan Wushuang said again, now I'll introduce you to the person under protection. Li Meiyu, 20 years old, white skin, beautiful face, chest size. Qin Haodong was speechless. I'm going to be a bodyguard, not to find a wife. Why do you tell me about her chest size? Qi Wan said, Lin's group is the leading financial group in Hong Kong, with hundreds of millions of assets. Li Meiyu is the only heir and she is beautiful. We want to tell you that you can be a bodyguard, but you can't steal. Qin Haodong said, what kind of person do you think I am? You and Wushuang are both young ladies of aristocratic families. I didn't steal, did I? After listening to him, Qi Wan immediately stared at him and said, how dare you say that? Why don't you steal? Are you saying that Sister Wushuang and I are not beautiful? A woman's heart was unfathomable. Qin Haodong said at a loss, then should I steal? Or shouldn't I? Qi Wan said, I don't care. Anyway, you have to behave when you go out. Nailan Wushuang said with a smile, that's right. Even if you want to steal, you have to follow the rules of first come, first served. Qin Haodong felt a headache. It was you who asked me to be a bodyguard, and it was you who worried about me. How could I live? Knowing that it was impossible to reason with women, he quickly changed the topic and said, there is one thing I don't understand. There are so many bodyguards in the world. With the financial resources of Lin's group, it's not a problem to transfer the whole Navy SEAL team. Why do you want me to be a bodyguard? Besides, our company has only been established for 2 months. How did they know about Daddy Security Company? Are we that famous now? Nailan Wushuang said, the relationship between big families is always very complicated. Because Li Meiyu is the only heir of Lin's group, many people are interested in her. Mr. Li is not at ease to hire a bodyguard in Hong Kong. In addition, as mentioned before, you have to protect Miss Li and not let her find out that you are a bodyguard. You also have to sneak into the Shanghai Medical College, so ordinary bodyguards are not qualified at all. Qi Wan then said, Mr. Li and my uncle are good friends. My uncle recommended our company, and I recommended you to Mr. Li. What do you think? Shouldn't you give me a little reward? Qin Haodong said with a bitter face, I am a good doctor, but you forced me to become a bodyguard. How dare you ask me for a reward? Now the only thing that made him happy was that Lin's group and Tang Men Company were about to move to Shanghai. This time, he could also make some preparations in advance. From this point of view, it was also good. Thinking of this, he asked, when do I leave? Nailan Wushuang said, tonight. Tomorrow is the opening day of the Shanghai Medical College. You can just go to register. Today? Isn't it a little too urgent? Besides, my file and student status are still in Jiangnan Medical College. I have to go through the formalities of dropping out. Naylan Wushuang said, "Don't worry, I've done all these for you. Your student status in Jiangnan Medical College has been withdrawn, and I've helped you to make a new file. Now you are still Qin Haodong, but you have become 19 years old. You are a freshman in the Shanghai Medical College this year, majoring in traditional Chinese medicine." Qi Wan took out a ticket and said, "This is tonight's flight. It will arrive at Shanghai Airport at 12 midnight on time." Seeing that the two women were determined to send him away, Qin Haodong couldn't say anything more. He could only hurry up and deal with things before he left as soon as possible. At midnight, a passenger plane slowly landed at the Shanghai airport. A moment later, Qin Haodong followed the crowd out of the airport exit and got on an airport bus to the city. After getting off the bus, he was not far from the hotel that Qi Wan had booked. He walked in the direction of the hotel while enjoying the night view of Shanghai. Not long after he walked out, a girl with green hair suddenly ran over, grabbed his hand and cried, "Honey, I finally found you. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."